Welcome back to another episode of Collector's Quest. I'm Tyler, here with Johnny. In this episode, we're not going to be talking about games for the BBC Micro.
Nope. It's very important that every episode in which we don't talk about the games that were on BBC microcomputers, we come out and say it.
Just so our three British listeners can go, oh, all right, I'll just wait for the next episode. I swear, Tyler's going to bring up a BBC micro game one of these days. I'm almost positive I've mentioned the Dragon 32, which is an obscure like TRS-80 clone in Europe. What else have I brought? I brought up all sorts of weird shit. I brought up the Auric 1 at some point because I bought an Auric 1 game, another computer that no one cares about, at least in America, certainly. I don't know what's going on over in the UK. I don't think we brought up a BBC micro game yet. Oh, actually, I believe the original Elite was released for the BBC Micro and Acorn. So maybe I have brought up the BBC Micro.
Well, I'll tell you that I own Spooks and Spiders for the Micro B.
Whoa. Is the Micro B what they call the BBC Micro? Or I don't...
Yep.
No. Really?
No, I don't know. Making a
That's
joke.
adorable. I love it.
I'm calling it the Micro B.
Cool. Well, we're not, let's not talk about the BBC Micro anymore, Johnny.
Okay, that's good because it's not a BBC Micro computer episode.
Johnny, what are we talking about? This is After Dark being released as a real episode, by the way. It is 1:30 a.m. and we have just started recording. And like an hour and a half ago, we just recorded another episode. So, hey guys, welcome to part 2. And you're going to be hearing this 4 months from now.
It's not 4 months. It's like 2 months.
What is it? It's July. That's the 7. No,
it's
like
almost August. It's days. It's days away. Less than a week away from August 1st.
All right. Time keeps moving.
So this is a Halloween episode. It's not an after. Why do you always disparage our episodes?
I'm not disparaging After Dark. Some people love After Dark. I'm just saying this is going to be not perhaps a research-focused episode on our part.
No, but it's also a Halloween episode, and people know we get a little loose on the Halloween episodes.
All right.
So so here's my theory with Halloween episodes. We do two. We do like one where I get into the weeds and tell you like a weird collectible Halloween game that could be from anywhere. It could be from a British microcomputer like Spooks and Spiders. It could be, just a very rare NES game. It could be Famicom. It could be anything. And we go like hard on those. And that's like what I call the So You Want to Collect Halloween Games episodes. And then we do one that's like a little more thematic. It's like, okay, here's a horror movie timeline, or hey, here's a Scooby-Doo retrospective or some dumb thing, or here's the history of survival horror games, even though that one was very research intensive. But this one is, sometimes we make these episodes that are so out there that I don't think they're like great episodes for new listeners. So I wanted to try and make an episode that kind of bridges that for new and old. I want to talk to you tonight, Tyler. I want us to make a decision. I want to know the staples of Halloween gaming across several consoles. That's what I want to do. I want to fight with you about it.
ChatGPT could come up with this, no problem. It'll make some stuff up for us.
It could, but that's not real. It doesn't have real opinions like we do.
ChatGPT doesn't understand that sometimes...
I'm sorry, my records only go to 2021, Tyler, but from what I can tell...
I think sometimes, even as a collector, like a cheaper, more common thing might be the better thing to own than the fancy, expensive game.
100%. And that's why we're talking staples. It's not like, hey, this is the best, most expensive, rarest. I just like, if you were in the mood to play or collect Halloween stuff, which is the one that you would think to grab first? So, like, for instance, it seems like a real obvious one, right? Like Halloween on the Atari. That seems like, oh man, that's like the most thematic. It's even called Halloween, but I don't agree with that. It's expensive. It's rare. No one's really like, it's so inaccessible. People aren't playing it, and it's so expensive. It's actually hard to collect too, and to authenticate. So that wouldn't make my staple list. I would love it if it did. I would love it if there was a better version of Halloween Like there was a game coming out, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre just came out with a new game, but Halloween hasn't really done that for us yet. So,
all right, Johnny, I want to determine some criteria here because
sure.
Probably from like a raw collector's point of view, Halloween maybe is the most collectible Halloween game on the Atari 2600. Yeah, are we talking as collectors? Are we talking as just show off on social media? Are we talking as iconic?
I am also as players, right? So I think a little bit of A, a little bit of B. If you were going to show someone like your Halloween stuff, like if you were going to just buy something and you wanted to like just take a video, like, it's Halloween, here's a picture of my Halloween game that I think I might play. Like, or you might actually play, which would be even better.
Actually playing video games?
I know.
What is this, Game Sack?
Look, I'm sorry for my sacky opinions.
All right. Well, this is why we're only talking about old games, Johnny, because I've only played old games, so that's my wheelhouse.
I can't wait to get your opinion on PS5 games. Let's go.
I have never played a PS5 game. I'm not sure I've held a PS5 controller.
Oh my God. Well, good news for you. It's just like a PS2 controller.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Oh, it's that big gray boomerang, right? Yeah. All right,
yeah. Yep.
Johnny, let's start off with the showstopper. We've already mentioned it. The Atari 2600, the most collectible and yet somehow most underrated console in the entire video game ecosystem right now. There are a bunch of horror games. I think the kind of obvious picks would be Haunted House, Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Those two wizard games, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Halloween, very rare, very expensive games. And then kind of a bunch of sleeper picks. There's little horror things all over. There's Frankenstein's Monster, which is a really cool kind of Pitfall-ish Donkey Kong game. I like that game a lot. What else do you got?
Well, are we doing a rundown of everything?
Right. If we're just gonna pick one, Johnny, it's Haunted House. I mean, that's the fucking game. Well,
that's what I want. I want to get our parameters. Are we only picking one for this system?
We are picking one. We're gonna mention a bunch, and we could fight about them. I want to pick one per console. I know you were talking before the episode.
We're not going to
fight.
We're not going to fight here. Haunted House. I agree with you.
Okay,
it's the game. It's got a wonderful box too. I really think you should buy the black box version though, like to get the most collectible version of it.
That would be the Sears Telegames release that was only sold
I don't know what
Sears.
That is. What is the Sears?
Look,
Frankenstein's Monster is a Sears Telegame. I don't know why you keep trying to push Sears on everything. That's weird. You just in touch with your softer side?
What are you talking about?
Oh, I just refuse to acknowledge anything about telegames. I'm being as associated to black boxes. They're just the black box Atari games. They're definitely not produced by Sears Telegames.
Frankenstein's not even a Sears game.
It is. Yes. It's not a black box, though. It's in a silver box.
But it's not exclusive because there's only 3 Sears exclusives.
Okay.
No, it says for Atari video game system and Sears Telegames video game arcade. They're just saying, like, this will also work on your Sears Telegames console, which is an Atari. They're doing the thing, how we talk about Outback Joey, like Outback Joey's not a Sega Genesis game. It's a Heartbeat personal trainer game. They're proving it right here. They're saying, even if you don't have an Atari, you could play it on your Sears Telegame video arcade, which is just a fucking Atari!
I may be trying to induce a stroke.
All right.
Anyways, so should we separate then the Telegame system, Sears Telegame, into its own console?
No, stop it. We would just pick Haunted House again. Whatever.
Yeah, I would. I would pick Haunted House twice. Then you could have them both. What an excellent thing.
Johnny, Haunted House, it will cost you probably like $20. Maybe a little bit more for a nice one, or maybe like $40 for the Telegames version. Obviously there's a bunch of variants because this is like one of the most common games on Earth. I think there's 2 major ones in America. Which one do you want?
You don't want the one where it is like the glue seal. You don't want that one.
Okay. So there's one where the flap was glued to the back and you had to kind of like tear it off the back of the box, which leaves these 2 circles on the back. and then you tuck the flap into the box afterwards, and then there's one that's just kind of a normal box that has a tucked flap in. Johnny, those glue flaps are earlier though. Don't you want the first print?
I mean, yeah, I understand the value of that, and I can even see why you would say that, but I also don't want a shitty box. Much like back in my day when hang tabs were all the rage, like when people were talking about hang tabs on Nintendo Age, I'm like, no, those make your fucking box look shitty. They just get a nice one. Get out of there. Like, yuck. Hang tabs are like cool. If it's a nice version, cool. But like glue tabs, unless it's sealed, can you get a nice version?
It is kind of shitty that, like, by definition, you kind of have to damage the box just to open the game. Yeah, they always suck. I don't know. I honestly just don't care what version of Haunted House you get, because in a world where variants matter more and more, I don't know how much a complete in-box Haunted House variant is ever really going to matter. So just get whatever is in the nicest condition that you could find, I would say.
Agree. All right. That's we did it. We agree. We didn't even have to fight on Atari. You're like, yeah, let's only pick one so we fight. Except what if we just agree?
All right, Johnny, let's move on then to the ColecoVision, a console that we all know for its strong ties to the horror genre. A lot of black screens on the ColecoVision. That's pretty spooky.
It is.
Johnny, name a ColecoVision game.
You want me to name? Chuck Norris Super Kicks, Congo
Bam.
Bongo.
All right, name a ColecoVision game that has horror themes or horror
Centipede.
characters or is spooky.
Centipede.
That's a much better answer than I could have come up with off the top of my head. Yeah, wow, Centipede is a pretty spooky game, huh?
Yeah. It's a big, ugly bug. Gross.
Jenny, I've got two picks here. It's either War Games or War Room. Both games are very similar. You're on a map of the United States defending it from incoming nuclear warheads from Russia.
I don't like that.
You don't like that? You don't think that the Holocaust, nuclear Holocaust is like the scariest thing ever?
Yeah, but that's not scary Halloween. That's like scary apocalypse.
There's nothing scarier.
It's not spooky though. It's just like,
to some people, like, that's the most existential dread thing there is thinking about maybe the world will just end and all of humanity will be gone. Whereas, like, how much damage can a werewolf do? Like, a werewolf could, like, maybe wipe out, like, a small town, but a werewolf can't, like, wipe out a city. But a bomb can.
That's true. I mean, I'm still gonna go with Centipede.
Okay.
I think
that is such a good answer. Did you, like, think about that beforehand? I love that answer.
Yeah, I told you I got one.
Oh, man, you're so smart.
I mean, I think a lot about Halloween games, Tyler. A lot.
All right. I get it.
I mean, you could you want to hear what other ones you could pick? I think a good pick, especially for like box art alone, is Smurf, Rescue in Gargamel's Castle.
Really?
But yeah, look at the box art is super spooky. There's a big full moon behind Gargamel's like shitty castle. You know?
Yeah. I'm thinking of a different one. I think. A different Smurf game. I'm just thinking of
super.
The Smurf.
So super spooky cover. Like that was my other one. Like those are my two. And then like you could go like Tutankhamun, I guess, because sometimes people think like Egyptian games are spooky.
Yeah. All right.
Well.
Yeah, I was thinking about Tutankhamun. Is it Tutankhamun? I don't know. All right. Johnny, War Games? I just want to bring up War Games. So there's Missile Command on Atari, and it's perfect. There's nothing to change with Missile Command. Like Missile Command's okay. I'm not like the biggest Missile Command fan, but the missiles come down, you put your cursor over them, and you shoot them. And there's a big delay because your little turrets at the bottom have to shoot up to the missile, and that's where all the strategy and skill of the game comes from. And it's perfect. Like you could pick it up in literally 2 seconds. You understand what to do in Missile Command. And War Games is the most ColecoVision implementation of Missile Command. You've got like a topographical map of the fucking United States that's divided into 6 sectors on a grid, and each grid has a DEFCON level that depends on how many missiles are incoming to that grid, and then you have to move your cursor around the fucking map and select the city that you want to defend, and then you're playing just, a shitty ColecoVision version of Missile Command. But just this whole idea of just like adding an unnecessarily complex quote-unquote strategy element to what should just be an arcade game. Why do these games do this? Why do they have numpads? Ugh.
I honestly don't know, Tyler. It's very weird.
Johnny, War Games complete box is like $70. It's an expensive ColecoVision.
Okay.
All right. All right. I like Centipede.
Well,
that's a better answer.
You like Centipede?
What does a Centipede go for?
I didn't check. I didn't know we were doing prices, so I didn't
we're the Collector's Quest podcast.
I know, but you said we're being super cash, so.
Hey, everyone. Allow us to quickly type this into eBay for you, so we can give you all the information.
Or you could just, cut all that, and that would be fine as well.
That's not After Dark rules.
Yeah, so if you want just like a cart, so here's the thing. If you want Centipede, I think thematically is scary because bugs are scary. People are scared of bugs, right? You can get one for like $20, but the box art is horrible on that Centipede, right? $25, $30 range. You could spend as much as $40 if you're trying to like really get the nicest one, but you could spend as low as $10. Just buy a nice one if you're gonna go this route. But if you are not going to play it and you just want the box, I really think Smurf is the better choice.
Okay, you're probably right there. But that's have I never beat Smurf on ColecoVision? Because that is just the most happy-go-lucky nothing game. That's one of the first platformers ever. And it's just it's nothing, right? You just walk across some green screens. I guess you go through some spooky caves.
You go through spooky caves.
Oh, there's a big skull at the end. All right. Yeah, there's a big skull at the end.
Yeah,
that's spooky.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that's scary, but I think Smurf is I'm not sure that Centipede is the choice. I'm
changing our answer. I forgot about the big skull at the end of Smurf Rescue in Gargamel's Castle.
And the full moon, and I don't think people see Smurf coming either. So
I think they don't see it coming, and also I'm just gonna pick it because I like that it's one of the first platformers ever. Because I'm Tyler. That's some good stuff.
Okay. Yeah, and so you can get carts only of this for nothing. It's dirt cheap. It is a super common game. Everybody and their mom had it, but if you want a box of it, the boxes. How's your box on this game? Because every box I see on this is always kind of damaged. I've never seen a super clean one.
Johnny, when I was collecting ColecoVision, I don't seriously go out of my way to buy things like Intellivision, ColecoVision, Atari anymore. But back when I was garage selling and stuff, I just pick up whatever. So all of my vintage stuff is just wrecked, except for, and then there's the other 10% of it that's all just new. so it's either wrecked or it's just new, straight from a distributor.
So, I think you can get a pretty good copy for $40. I've seen them as low as $25. Do beware that there is a reg card with this game.
Ooh.
So, something to look out for. And there are multiple Smurf games. So, this is specifically Smurf Gargamel's Castle. Remember that. Or you don't want to wind up with the paint and play Smurf game.
One, you're not gonna mistake them, and two, no one is actually gonna go buy a ColecoVision game based on the recommendation of the Collector's Quest podcast.
Let us know if you bought Smurf. But also, I just want to say, if you want a 5.5 sealed Smurf on eBay, you can get one for $500.
Well, there's a 7.5 for $300.
Is it sealed though?
It sure is. Well, it's not sealed because ColecoVision games weren't sealed. Yeah. Let's go to the Heritage Auctions. Let's see what these are actually selling for. Oh, man. They ColecoVision, probably because ColecoVision games never sell because who's sending in their ColecoVision games. But one sold in 2021. I'm bringing up the price now, Johnny. Okay, $200 sealed for an 8. So,
okay,
this game's worth
but So one of them is the CBS Electronics variant.
Is that a foreign variant?
I think it must be, right? What is that? I love that it says CBS on it, though. That just makes me think of my childhood.
Yeah, I think those CBS Electronics games, I think they're PAL versions. But don't quote me in that. That's the case. Yeah, I think like did CBS distribute ColecoVision in Europe? This is way off topic. We don't need to Google this for people. Just don't. You know what? We're just gonna call it from the hip. Don't buy the CBS Electronics versions of ColecoVision games.
I like it. It's got a smaller splash.
It does. It's a better looking box. It is definitely a better looking box.
So yes and no, but they put this annoying banner that covers the moon, and it's like. It's also a brighter art.
It is a much brighter. Yeah, I feel like they made it more cartoony and less spooky, which is kind of funny.
Which is anti what I want. So while there's a hard choice, I like that it says CBS. I'm gonna say go with the other one, even with the larger splash. Don't buy the CBS one.
I mean, sure, I would never buy a European game ever, except for all the computer games that I buy, Johnny. So yeah.
Okay, cool.
Cool. So actually, this is wild. I actually find this interesting. So there's a couple sales in 2021 for Smurfs, like $200, $300 for like an 8 and a 9 sealed copies. And then the Intellivision ones, there's more copies that have sold throughout like 2022, and they sold for $400, $400, $500, $500, and then for a 9.6, $1,500 for the Intellivision version. I mean... Yep. All right, I'm just going to say, like, no one buying these fucking cares about ColecoVision or Intellivision. They're probably just buying the Smurf name. And, like, Smurfs are cool as pop culture, and this is in mint condition. But, like, ColecoVision's cooler than Intellivision. We can all, like, agree on that, right? Or is that just something, like, we don't even think about anymore? But also, ColecoVision's cooler than Intellivision. We're not, like, debating this, guys, right?
I think we are. You better bring it up.
Tommy Tallarico, the composer of Color a Dinosaur, was able to buy the Intellivision brand name from the dumpster of history and made a fake video game console that scammed a bunch of people out of money for buying these fake Intellivision Amico cards that don't actually have video games on them.
Allegedly.
So, therefore... ColecoVision's cooler than Intellivision. Also, the ColecoVision's a computer. Like, the Coleco Atom computer is basically a ColecoVision. What's an Intellivision? It's got these little baby cartridges. No one wants a Intellivision cartridge. Can you imagine collecting loose Intellivision cartridges? They're like the size of a credit card.
Yeah, they aren't great, but the box is also different on the Intellivision. Are you going to tell people about that? Or it's got like a red box.
Well, I mean, it's a red box, yeah. It also has like a gigantic banner across it, the same as the ColecoVision ones. They're both
so much worse. It's actually a worse banner.
Johnny, we can't talk about box art too much because we are an audio podcast.
I know, but I'm just saying, if you were like debating because you're like, oh, don't, unless you get the PAL version, which is also CBS, which then puts a giant fucking arcade machine on it. Anyways. Let's get away from it.
Let's. Smurfs is the choice on ColecoVision. Now we move on to the Intellivision. Johnny, is the answer still Smurfs?
It's Smurf. It's not Smurfs.
Oh, it's Smurf. Is that a brand thing or no? Because it's the Smurfs.
Yeah, but this game is called Smurf.
Okay,
not Smurfs. Whatever the reason, that's just what it is.
Wait, is that Johnny? Do we have to like cut everything? Did this game even come out on Intellivision? Was I looking at Atari versions?
No, it's Intellivision.
All right. Whatever you say.
Now you've got me like questioning myself, but like pretty sure it was an Intellivision, right?
I'm looking up Smurf Wada. Johnny, that is the Coleco game for the Atari 2600. Johnny, this game never came out on the Intellivision. So maybe just Atari is worth more than ColecoVision, which makes a lot more sense. We've got like all of our Gen X listeners were losing their minds who are like into Atari stuff. We're like, it's not on the Intellivision. It's on the Atari. Guys, never get anything right.
I have the ColecoVision version because it's a nicer box.
And has better graphics. So
I don't even care about that. It was literally a nicer box. But I did play the Atari version as a kid.
I know you've mentioned it, and I'm happy this cool game was a part of your childhood, Johnny. And it was a Coleco game. They might have like intentionally made it worse on Atari because they did that with like Donkey Kong. I don't know how. I don't really know how the whole story behind Coleco handicapping games that they made multi-platform, but it is kind of funny.
Okay.
So Johnny, in television, Smurf is not a choice. I think.
Okay.
What you know? What you've had some. You had a unique pick. You came at me with Centipede. What do you got in television?
You tell me what you got in television. I already
right. I mean, there's
first
one kind of obvious game. It's Dracula. Imagic's Dracula, which from its
a good one, and it has the cool little overlays.
And then the kind of like on the edge ones would be Night Stalker and Shark. So Night Stalker, you play as a guy with a gun running away from robots. Like the name sounds like it should be the most Halloween game, and the theme is like campy sci-fi. So I feel like Night Stalker is not going to make the cut. And then Shark, you could say it's Jaws, but it's not. It's Feeding Frenzy. It's PopCap's game Feeding Frenzy, which also makes it not very Halloween.
I've got another one.
Ooh.
I've got another one for you to consider. Okay, I don't count Shark. I do agree. I think Dracula's probably the choice, but if we want some outlier picks, I agree with Night Stalker. And here's my weirdo choice. Frog Bog. Spooky cover.
What are you talking about? This is why we need to just do 7 times the amount of work and make this a video podcast so we could bring up all these cover arts so people can be like, oh, very spooky. So I was like, Frog Bog, is that different than Frogs and Flies? No, Frog Bog is just Frogs and Flies before it was ported to Atari as Frogs and Flies. And it's spooky because it's just a realistic depiction of a frog.
Yeah, frogs are ugly.
Oh
Ugh.
my God.
I said it was my weirdo choice. What do you want? There's also, again, a full moon, spooky. There's murder happening. That frog is killing something and eating it. Bugs are scary. Come on. You're not with me on this?
Sure. So the Sears Telegames version of Frog Bog, it has like a different realistic depiction of a frog that is perhaps even
much
more
worse.
grotesque.
Yeah. I don't. It's more realistic until you get to its tongue.
Yeah.
It looks like someone drew that tongue in after. They were like, I want a tongue on that thing. I'll draw it in myself.
All right. It's just Dracula by Magic. It's got a kind of shitty picture of Dracula.
It looks like a kid dressing up as Dracula on the cover. It's awful.
Yeah, it is really bad. As like we're in the Discord talking about I'm sorry guys, it is right now it's July 2023. We're talking about like the limited run game release of the Game Boy Advance Castlevania collection that they're putting out, and they're putting out like 4 different variants. And like all these games have like kind of this like amazing anime Dracula cover art, like Harmony of Dissonance and Aria of Sorrow and all these games. And then we got the kid in a Halloween costume Dracula on in television. All right, it's $40. No one's buying an Intellivision game. I just wanted to talk about Intellivision because we never talk about this stuff.
So another one you could have picked, the Dungeons and Dragons game. Treasures of Tarman. Is it Tarman?
Taraman, yeah. But
yeah, because
that seems like a very loose tie, Johnny.
It is. A loose tie.
I get it, because in the 80s, Dungeons and Dragons was Satanism, which is Halloween.
Yes, there you go. And it's got a depiction of a skeleton on it. I don't know if that's supposed to be a lich for this game or not, but it's got a cool cover. Like it's got a giant scorpion on it. If we were going to count like Into the Desert or something for TurboGrafx 16, or I think it's also a computer game, then we might also include that one. So it's just an option. It's still Dracula for me, but
I mean, if we're picking the most iconic or the one game for the cassette, yeah, sure. It's Dracula.
Also, like, just there's lots of Draculas. I feel like we're gonna have to say Dracula a lot.
The idea of Dracula is So much cooler than the book. I thought the book Dracula was so boring. I finish almost every book. I got like 2/3 of the way through Dracula, and I just couldn't take it.
Didn't finish Dracula?
I didn't finish Dracula.
Oh,
when was
I
that
love
book written?
Dracula.
Was it written like 300 years ago? That could contribute to like how boring it was.
No, it was written in the it was like the end, like 1890 or something, 1880.
It's only
it was published.
130 years old. I couldn't do it. I'm sorry.
Man, yeah, I really want. It's still possible to get first prints of Dracula, and I think it would just be the coolest thing to own.
Like, how much is like a book like that? That
I
sounds
think
very
they go,
expensive.
I think they're like $10,000 at least.
Really? I mean, I don't know anything about the book market, but for Dracula, that doesn't seem bad at all. That's like way less than fucking Harry Potter for like Dracula.
I know. I agree. Let's move on. Here's where the real fighting begins, Tyler. Nintendo. Let's fight, because you've got an insane answer. What's your insane answer?
I mean, my immediate instinct is Ghosts and Goblins, Johnny. And I know it's not like I forgot Castlevania exists.
Okay.
But Ghosts and Goblins spooky.
That's your argument.
I mean, so I know it has the movie monsters, but then because we kind of had like a 5-second pre-fight before this show, you brought up the film reel, and then I'm like, oh, the film reel really does make it Halloween-y. I mean, as if Castlevania is not Halloween-y to begin with.
I mean, there's other choices like on the Nintendo too. This is not the end of the story.
No, it's the end of the story. It ends in 1986. So, all right, here's an argument from me. Castlevania doesn't really count because Akamaja Dracula is a Famicom Disk System game. So let's come on, that doesn't really count.
Okay, go on.
Well, there's also the Hunt for Red October, which it's probably
not
about
a Halloween game.
It's a nuclear war is very spooky, scary.
I see it right. Are you afraid? Do you need comforting? Did you live through the 80s? You weren't even around. The wall was down.
I was
when you were
around
born,
in the
right?
80s, Johnny. I lived through almost half a year of it.
Oh, cool. I'm just saying. Look. You could tell me, oh, I want to pick Uninvited because got a spooky haunted house.
Before you list every horror game on the NES, is there anything that could realistically go up against Castlevania?
I think Sweet Home could.
So that's a Famicom game I wanted to bring up.
I think some people might choose Friday the 13th.
No, that's bullshit. You're not going to tell me that like purple Jason is the Halloween icon compared to fucking Dracula.
I don't agree. But it also like depends on your version of Halloween. You could pick like one of the Addams Family games. You could pick Fester's Quest. Ghostbusters is on the NES, right? And did we skip Atari? Did we just totally forget to do Atari, or did we just say no? We just said Haunted House.
It's Haunted House, yeah.
Yeah,
and Ghostbusters is there too, but like
but no, it's Haunted House. So that like Uninvited has a very spooky cover, you know. But Castlevania kind of has everything going for it.
Castlevania really does have everything going for it. So the one thing
it's collectible, it's good, it's got a great cover. Like, how do you fight against that?
Yeah, I mean, and that's why none of your like bullshit like Friday the 13th or like Nightmare on Elm Streets are gonna beat Castlevania because it has everything. So the one thing Sweet Home has is Sweet Home feels very survival horror in a way that 8-bit games just do not.
No.
With things like permadeath and jump scares. And the story, it's got to be like the grimmest 8-bit story in any video game, like echoes of dead babies and incinerators and like characters who commit suicide. It's like, it's fucking weird. It's like no wonder this didn't come out in America. The second you play it, you're just like, how this would not have got the Nintendo seal of quality.
Well, you say that, but we have a lot of fucking crazy games. I mean, Rambo is a game.
Yeah.
For children.
I mean, I think that it goes to Castlevania anyway, because even if like Sweet Home is the spookiest game, it might not be the most Halloween game compared to Castlevania.
No, if I was picking two, Sweet Home would probably be my second.
All right. Castlevania wins NES. I thought there would be more argument, but the only argument was that my immediate thought was Ghosts and Goblins, which is still like the absolute top tier of Halloween on NES. All right. You think it's like this medieval game. You're like, oh, you play a guy with armor, and then when you get hit, he's in his underwear, so that's not spooky.
I love Ghosts and Goblins and Ghouls and Ghosts. I love all of it. I have an expensive version of this on the I have so many versions of this game. And when I almost did like a home arcade, I was going to do a bar arcade, like a mini one. I even had all the art sourced, and I was deciding between Castlevania art and Ghosts and Goblins art, and I was leaning Ghosts and Goblins. Okay, so it's not like I'm totally out in left field on this one. I like it. It's good, but it's just, what do you want from me?
All right. Just because we are the Collector's Quest podcast, Johnny, I'm going to say Castlevania. It comes in a number of variants. The first print, or the earlier prints, let's just say the earlier prints, has a hang tab on the back of the box. The kind of middle prints have a circle seal of quality, and the latest prints have an oval seal of quality. Kind of doesn't matter what you get. I would just say don't get the oval seal of quality. Even though that's like the version that has all the bug fixes and shit, that means your game won't freeze. But you're not going to play it, so it doesn't matter. You're just going to play it on Switch Online or an emulator or something. Because we're in 2023 and we're being real. Or you're just not going to play it because you don't like old video games. You just like collecting them. Because
you're just going to buy that limited run collection.
That limited run GBA collection. I'm buying 10 copies.
No,
to keep
also the Castlevania collection's out in a lot of places now. So.
Oh, right. I forgot about that one.
Oh, you know what I forgot on Intellivision that I was going to try and make a case for, especially given the era. I don't think you're buying my argument, but I was going to say Scooby-Doo's Maze Chase.
Okay, what? I'm looking up Scooby-Doo's Maze Chase. Oh, I remember you bought this and you were like, yeah, I got Scooby-Doo's Maze Chase, because this is like kind of an expensive game, right?
I don't think it was too expensive. I just think it was cool. I got a nice copy. It's just fucking awesome looking.
Okay, yeah, what a surprise! It's a maze game from the 1980s. Never seen one of those before. All right, there's little spooky ghost. There's literally spooky ghosts chasing you around a maze.
It's
with
Scooby Doo. Everything Scooby Doo is spooky ghosts.
I mean, this is a better pick than Smurf. Oh well, this is in television. What was our pick? Dracula. Oh, fuck Dracula. Let's pick Scooby-Doo's Maze Chase. Like, I don't know anything about Dracula. I'm just bad-mouthing a game I've never played, but I hate the box art. And, like, in terms of collecting, like, give me just the Scooby-Doo box art.
You know, the Dracula game is a side-scroller. Do you know any of that? And the weird thing about this version of Dracula on the Intellivision is it, like, tries to incorporate, like, lore from like the Dracula books, and like it's very weird. It's also like a side scroller, which is less common during that. It's not terrible. It's not a terrible game. It's probably a better game than Maze Chase.
I mean, I don't like maze games, so I would believe that. Yeah, I remember. I've seen this game, but
yeah,
whatever. So are we picking Dracula or Scooby-Doo, Johnny?
I'm going to go with Scooby-Doo, because I think there's going to be other options to pick better Dracula games.
Or do we pick the Castlevania Intellivision port, that homebrew port that someone made and promised that they would get back to you when they were selling more copies and never did?
Never did. Fucking multiple times I've reached out and tried to buy Intellivision, and it just has never happened.
Yep. Yeah, Johnny, this game, like, I don't know. The Scooby-Doo, at least $100 for complete in box. And your only real option is probably this $188 one. Oh, there's a $150 one. But like no complete ones. There's only a sealed one, I think, and sold. So like it's not the most common game.
It's not, and the cover is awesome.
Cover's pretty
good.
Going to the episode that we recorded earlier today, the Spider-Man Super Famicom cover is awesome. This cover is pretty good.
No, this it looks like exactly, it captures Scooby-Doo so well. It's just like, oh man, Scooby-Doo, Spooky Tree Moon. Scooby is animated in the style of the show. So if you were thinking about like Scooby-Doo, especially of this era, this is exactly what you would expect to get.
All right. You expect to get, and then it's just like a Pac-Man game. It's not a Pac-Man. It's not Pac-Man. I mean, it's probably a little bit like Pac-Man, but
also
exactly what you
could low-key pick Pac-Man as a Halloween game.
Absolutely, except I don't like it. I mean, there are some Pac-Man boxes, I think, on like the computers or maybe some of the ports that do have like a little bit of that spook factor, like that really make the ghosts more ghosty, but
yeah, I don't think they do. What they usually do is like make Pac-Man into like a 3D humanoid character, and that's fucking terrifying in a completely different way.
Yeah. Especially when he's like eating the dots like they're potato chips. That is.
Yeah. I just don't like when they like completely humanize him and it's got like rubbery, fleshy skin and it's like gross. Not into it. Anyways, Nintendo in television, we've changed our picks. I told you we might change our minds. We're going Scooby-Doo because the cool box art, Castlevania because it's goddamned Castlevania. And now here's where we can fight, Tyler. The Sega Master System.
Can we fight here? Because I was thinking, like, before the episode, in the 10 minutes of prep we did, like, oh yeah, there's maybe more horror games on Sega Master System than I originally thought. Because I'm thinking like Ghost House and Ghouls and Ghosts and the Castlevania clone, whatever, and Master of Darkness, and then I'm like, I don't feel passionate about almost anything on the Sega Master System, so I might just capitulate to whatever you're about to say.
Well, here, let me also throw some other things at you. So there's Ghostbusters there as well. You could pick Ghostbusters, and that's like a good version of Ghostbusters.
I mean, as good as you can get for that weird Ghostbusters game.
Where
it's the same as the NES and Atari one where you drive the Ghostbusters logo around town. Great concept for a video game. So good it got ported to multiple systems.
But you could also, and this is a bit of a dark horse, but you could pick Mickey's Castle of Illusion.
No, I will not.
Okay.
Sell me on it being a Halloween game and not just a game with some spooky things in it.
No. Look, though, there is a castle and you fight a witch. You're fighting a witch.
Was Snow White fights a witch? It doesn't make Snow White games Halloween games.
I don't know. Have you fucking watched Snow White where she goes through the spooky forest? It's terrifying.
It doesn't make it a Halloween movie.
It makes it spooky, and that's what we're talking about. I'm just saying, you're giving, and it's a good game. So I'm giving you outs here, is all I'm saying.
All right. So my immediate thought is that Ghouls and Ghosts is one, a cool game. I don't know about the Sega Master System version. But it is a cool game, and it has maybe it doesn't have great box art, but it has box art in the US set, in a set where like so many of the games don't have box art or have like smaller box art for some reason. So it sticks out to me as a game that is one, a cool title, and two, has more box art than like half the Sega Master System library. So that is where I'm going, Johnny.
And it's got completely different art than like the rest of the Ghouls and Ghosts games, which is kind of interesting. It's more, I want to say it's more Japanese looking than some of the other ones.
I don't know how to respond. Is that Japanese looking?
I think the monster is very much more Japanese looking. You don't think so? It looks like a more Japanese horror monster.
It's a Cyclops dragon. I don't know.
What's it reminds me of like the horror masks in Japan.
Oh yeah. Those demon masks, maybe.
Yeah. It gives me that read.
All right.
I just want to say Master of Darkness, really.
So I don't know a lot about Master of Darkness.
Vampire Master of Darkness. It's a Castlevania clone.
Oh, like Rusty. Did you ever get a copy of Rusty?
No.
What are you doing? All right, I'm looking at this. Oh wow, like the stairs are exactly like Castlevania. Is this game just Castlevania? Did they just?
Yeah, kind of.
You got a whip? You don't got a whip. You got a gun? What is this game?
Yeah. I really want Rusty.
You just play I mean, Rusty's cool as hell. Because Rusty, you play as like a dominatrix lady. Who has
Rusty's super cool.
In fucking Master of Darkness, you just play like a guy in a suit. This guy is not as cool as Simon Belmont. Let me just say that up this. It's up to you. I don't know anything about this game. So.
I'm picking Master of Darkness.
All right, I'm just gonna go with what
you can have a different pick than me.
I can't. We have to pick one, and I feel like you're speaking from a position of more authority here.
Okay.
Did this game come out in America, Johnny?
Nope.
All right, we're going with Ghouls and Ghosts because it is a game that actually counts.
Oh, what? We don't count. It's the Master System. Don't we have to count the whole world?
No, we don't have to count the world in any sense. Johnny, how much does a copy of Master of Darkness cost?
Anywhere between $80 to $120 if you're buying it. But Halloween, the price creeps up a little bit. So, like, if you can get in before Halloween or after Halloween, that's the time to buy this game.
We live in a world of the cool 50s comic books are these horror covers, and like you don't even have to read the comics or know anything about the content, but you just look at some of these 50s comics and it's just like, man, that art is so cool. The concept of horror is so cool. Is Master of Darkness one day going to be a game that people look at and they're like, oh, I just love those horror games. I want to buy all the horror games, Johnny.
I think so. It's got a classic vampire, monster spewing out of a cape, dark moon, haunted castle. The only thing that holds it back is honestly the ugly Master System white and gray grid. But I
mean, I think the thing that also holds it back is that one, it's European, and like that's just gonna make it harder to discover in general. But
see, this is not an obscure game. People know about this game.
Like, I mean, forgive the reduction to Mr. New Video Game Investor. Like, this game is so obscure that he will basically never know about it because there's no reason for anyone to know about this unless you are specifically hunting out interesting Halloween games.
And but see, that's the thing. I think if you are hunting those out, you will find instances of this game being mentioned in videos and stuff.
Okay, all right. I didn't realize how.
And people, and this is like a game that people feel smart picking. They get like, oh, you like Castlevania? Let me show you this one. It's a little bit, and that was like one of the reasons I didn't want to pick it. But honestly, it's just like it's not a bad game. It's got a pretty cool cover, and if you were going in and you were picking, it's obviously not the first like 5 that you're gonna grab if you were doing that, but. Yeah. If you were like Mr. New Video Game Guy and someone was making a list like Collector's Quest or something, it would be on our list and you'd be like, well, maybe I'll consider it. But I don't think it's one you would run to first. But I think as you fill out and like want something to talk about, then this one pops up, especially with Castlevania being such a prolific franchise. Then I think this is like, oh, have you seen the Castlevania of the Master System? It's that kind of bullshit.
I just want to point out that I was saying, like, who's going to talk about this? There's no content like creators that are ever going to mention Master of Darkness. As we're here on our podcast and we have chosen Master of Darkness on the Sega Master System as the most interesting Halloween game on the console. So it's us. We're the self-fulfilling prophecy, Johnny.
I understand that. I'm for it.
Johnny, the Super Nintendo.
Ooh, girl.
It's Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Some games.
Because it's got too much going for it, plus it's got the new exciting cover. Not new, but like it's gained a lot of popularity, the variant cover for Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Has it gained a lot of popularity, or is it just that Limited Run is releasing a copy of that game in a Super NES style box with that art? I
mean, there's that, but of Super Nintendo variants, I mean, it's not like the most obscure Super Nintendo variant, but it's like a pretty obscure thing that like only Super Nintendo people knew and care about.
So let me ask you, you're going to pick that over Super Castlevania?
Oh my God, we're going back to Castlevania? This feels like a cop-out.
That's the problem. That's why I wanted to have like more than one, where the list was just going to be by Castlevania.
Now on the PlayStation 1, we've got Castlevania Chronicles, and on the TurboGrafx, it's Castlevania Rondo of Blood.
What are you talking about? It's Symphony of the Night, you madman.
And for the Sega Saturn, it's Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and for the Nintendo 64, it's Castlevania.
Ugh.
What do we do
Okay.
about the Sega CD? There's no Castlevania games to choose.
I don't know. We'll have to pick Dracula.
I'm sticking with Zombies Ate My Neighbors. So it was the first thing that came to my mind, even over Castlevania. So, and I feel like there's something to that. I mean, and there's also, I think, Super Ghouls and Ghosts. I had on my like top 10 Super Nintendo games that I would buy if I had unlimited budget, but I don't think that's gonna make my list. Like Zombies Ate My Neighbors, definitely not on my list for that.
No.
I don't know, Castlevania, like the cover art doesn't scream Halloween. Like there's like Hydra heads, and yeah, there's skeletons, but there's like dragons and stuff. You see like the dragon.
No, it's much worse. I can see where my argument against Ghouls and Ghosts also kind of fits here. Okay, well, like let's just say that for the sake of, like, if you love Castlevania, you're just buying Castlevania, and it's just, I don't want a list of all Castlevania games. I can see that making your list. I think there's an argument to be made for Clock Tower on the Super Famicom as like an interesting choice.
Is that like a better choice?
I mean, it's not a staple. It's not. I think that's an obscure choice. Like, I think that's like our interesting pick, our staple pick. I can see where I'm going to give you Zombies Ate My Neighbors, and I think our interesting pick is Clock Tower.
We can't have two picks. We're cutting everything down.
It's not. It's a different list. It's like, oh, and there's an interest.
Okay.
The staple is Zombies Ate My Neighbor. That's the pick for that list.
Do you know what that variant box sells for?
Well, if you just buy the limited run games version when it comes out, it's supposed to be an event release, and it just says coming soon.
By the time wasn't released yet. I thought you were doing some kind of like, we're recording this for the future thing.
No, it hasn't been out. It hasn't been released yet. It may be by the time that this hits the airwaves, so to speak.
Okay. Well, there's actually
the last time I saw.
There's an auction on Heritage that ends in 2 weeks, so people will know what it costs by the time this is released.
What do they have it at?
Right now, I mean, it's up to $400, but it's 2 weeks to go.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it falls, really within the more like $1,500 range.
$1,500. I mean, sure, I believe you.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm looking. Oh, there's a sealed one that you can get on eBay right now for $45,000. That's a pretty good deal. Who's gonna have that?
Cool.
There's also another buy it now for $5,000 for a complete in box. Like, all right. Also, it looks like Zombies Ate My Neighbors limited run games is already released, or at least you can get it at the store. I don't know, but
maybe you can get it at the store. You'll have to go get me one.
Oh, a box only just sold last month for a little over $500. And is it the same cartridge and everything?
It's all the same. All other components are the same.
I mean, this isn't a great box. It's like ripped at the top a little bit, but like, all right. That's a lot better than, and I realize the $5,000 one's probably pretty nice, but like this is a more reasonable price for like a pretty average one that you would actually find.
Okay.
$600.
600. I think that's a good price. I think if you could get it for under $1,000, I think you're doing just fine in today's economy.
Johnny, we're heading to the recession. Don't you hear the YouTubers and their down arrows and their thumbnails and
no.
The Fed hiked interest rates again and the stocks, the economy. I don't really pay attention to that stuff. I don't know.
Man, there's so many good Halloween picks on the Nintendo, just on the original Nintendo. Less good picks on the Super Nintendo, I think.
Ghoul Patrol.
Chiller.
Well, Chiller on NES, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for Super Nintendo? Yeah, Super Nintendo.
Bram Stoker's Dracula. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
You can pick, like, Demon's Crest. You got Casper. You got Nosferatu. on there.
Oh, Nosferatu's pretty cool. You tell me, for games like Bram Stoker's Dracula, or even Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which I don't know how many ports that has, but like
A lot.
Is that like boring? Like it's the most obvious Halloween thing, but is it like boring? Like I wouldn't want to show off a Bram Stoker's Dracula, and I don't know if it's just because it's worthless or it's because like this game's not special because it's kind of everywhere and it's the most obvious thing. Whereas Castlevania is everywhere and the most obvious thing, but it's also like this cool reinterpretation of the Halloween story rather than like. I realize that the 90s movie is a reinterpretation of Dracula, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, I think because this is the stigma of licensed games is like still thick in this era. So games like Dracula, you just know they were like kind of cheaply made and tossed out there. So no one takes them seriously.
Well, Johnny, nobody licensed Mary Shelley's Frankenstein from her exhumed grave of 150 years ago.
Yeah, well, you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
But this is based off of the movie from the 90s with Gary Oldman and Keanu Reeves. And that Frankenstein is also, it's the Robert De Niro Frankenstein movie of that era.
Oh, really? The Super Nintendo Frankenstein is a movie license game?
Yeah, that's
I had no
why
idea.
the Blockbusters, same with that's why the Genesis Blockbuster rental tie-in is there. Because it's based off the movie.
Oh.
You didn't know this?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, these are movie games.
Johnny, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein for the Super Nintendo is not a game that comes up in conversation ever. We are the first people on the internet to mention that in 3 years.
I mean, I think we probably mentioned it 2 years ago.
Okay.
During a Halloween
we
episode.
beat our own mention of it.
All right, interesting.
Johnny.
Yeah, the movie was this. Yeah, it's Kenneth Branagh is the director. Like, it's got like a really high rated director, and it's got Robert De Niro, and the movie was just like pretty blah. It was not well reviewed.
You can get a VGA 80 plus sealed copy for the Super Nintendo for $200. Go do it. Why not? 100 for you go lower in grades, you just keep getting cheaper. I guess that's how it goes. $150 for a VGA 80. I guess that is getting into kind of like crummy territory, but I mean, like $150, that's how much you would expect a complete in box horror Super Nintendo game to be.
Let's move on. Let's move away from the Super Nintendo. And let's get into the Genesis, where you could also pick Mary Shelley's Frankenstein or Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Well, there's only one choice, Johnny, and I think we know. Let's say it together. Castlevania Bloodlines.
It's all right. Really doing it. Oh my God, this episode is trash. We're just going to keep saying Castlevania. God damn it.
Wait. There's another game with a somewhat horrific theme that I think we can choose, Johnny. And it's a game that I think all of us are trying to rejoice in the value of. And maybe push up in price, and it is the Ooze for the Sega Genesis. The seminal $60-ish complete in box video game.
Okay, I've got some other choices for us.
All right, what we got?
Just to think about. Okay, and this is one we missed in our horror movie timeline because honestly, I forgot this game exists. But I think it's Super Nintendo too. But hey, Warlock.
Beware the Ultimate Evil Warlock, Johnny. Is that another movie licensed game?
It is.
Okay.
I'm like 99% sure on that one. Like, double check me real quick.
I mean, I think that's where the tagline comes from.
Yeah. But we also have Addams Family. We have like a pretty good Scooby-Doo game on here too. Scooby-Doo Mystery. We also have Zombies Ate My Neighbors. Can we go back and pick Castlevania and then just pick Zombies Ate My Neighbors for the Genesis?
No, I think Zombies. So I'm thinking of like, it's October 31st and you're posting a game on Instagram. What's the game you're picking? And no one is picking the Genesis Zombies Ate My Neighbors because you know what? The Zombies Ate My Neighbors box art sucks. The only reason, like, the shittiness of the Zombies Ate My Neighbors box art is what makes the SNES variant box so good. Because it is super good, and it's super good compared to how bad the original box is.
Well, I also think that I like the Genesis box. And
all right, well,
it's pulpy horror feel, and I like the yellow. But we have other choices here too. So let's not let's not be hasty. We've got some expensive games that want their say. Splatterhouse 2 and Splatterhouse 3.
Yeah, I mean, so my first instinct is Splatterhouse 2 in terms of like, what's the cool game I would want to post for Halloween on Genesis? But there's so many games on Genesis, I know we're probably forgetting some, so I want you to remind me of things. There's also a Ghostbusters. I'm not going to pick Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters.
There is Ghostbusters, yeah. There's an Addams Family. Let's see. Ghouls and Ghosts again, Castlevania Bloodlines. It's really feeling like, we've got Haunting starring Poltergeist. What's the other one? Decap Attack. You could pick.
Decap Attack would be a good one too.
Yeah, but that's. I mean, there's other things you could choose. You could choose like the Immortal because it's got a Grim Reaper on the cover, but
Dark Castle.
You could also pick Mickey again.
Johnny, hear me out. Real Monsters from Nickelodeon.
Not spooky.
Okay, Scooby-Doo man. Skeleton Crew.
Nah.
Literally nothing is like Elemental Master. It's a shooter. It's not spooky enough. Elemental Master is really
Castlevania.
cool.
I'm on Bloodlines, especially because
you're really on Bloodline. We're not picking another Castlevania game. I want to go with Splatterhouse 2. That's the only one that I feel like even a little strongly about.
You vetoed 16-bit era Castlevanias. Got it.
If I'm not picking Castlevania 4, the best Castlevania game, I'm not picking another Castlevania.
It's not the best Castlevania.
The best Castlevania.
It's a fun Castlevania. I love it. It's a 5, but it's just not the best Castlevania.
So Elemental Master, I thought the box art would be spookier. Because when you're playing Elemental Master, it's a shooter. It's a top-down shooter, and you play a guy with a red cape. So it kind of like feels like, oh yeah, I'm like Dracula going around being a cool guy with a cape. And then you look at the cover of the box, and you're just like some guy wearing a red cape and is the least cool looking dude. Yep. All right. It's
so dumb.
I want it to be Elemental Master to be different. No, I'm picking Splatterhouse.
It is not. It's not Elemental Master. But let's. Shall we move on?
Johnny, what does a Splatterhouse 2 cost, and why is it interesting?
Oh yeah, it's Splatterhouse 2. Why is it interesting? Is it because it's like $300?
I think so. So, are games back? I've been like typing a bunch of games into eBay, like even interesting games. Like I would call Splatterhouse 2 an interesting game, and there's like, I don't know, 6 complete in box copies for sale, and like not at completely insane prices. They're like $300.
I'm telling you, it's the time of summer sales. You know my theory.
All right, it is the time of summer sales. I like this one. There's one that has it's the cart and the box, but they included a random Sega insert, so it looks complete. Really good job there. Can I call out the seller?
Yeah.
I was just looking who it was. Oh, it's Near One. That's a guy who buys a bunch of the best stuff and resells it. I'm sure Near One could be listening to this show for all I know. Anyway, it's like it's $250. Why not? Go get a Splatterhouse 2.
I'm going to say I like Splatterhouse 3 better. I know you like it as a game less. One, like Splatterhouse 2, like we also forgot you could have picked like Alien and stuff if you were looking for those kind of picks. But I don't like that Splatterhouse looks like he's beating an alien. I like the hordes of zombies behind him. But like the ghost looks stupid, and why is there an octopus grabbing him while he's on land? I've never loved the cover of Splatterhouse 2. Like, I think if you had him just fighting a different monster and then the background that's there, then this is a great cover. And it's like it's got like this really cool stuff going on and then this dumb stuff I don't understand. It's like the Haunted Mansion theory at Disneyland. So like half of it's goofy and half of it's spooky, and together that makes something okay. And I'm not for it on this game cover.
Even though you love Scooby-Doo. All right. I'm kind of the opposite. So I like Splatterhouse 2 a lot, just from like a look impact perspective, because it's got that all blue box on the Sega Genesis when like 95% of the console is either hitting you with red or black. I think it's really cool that it has like a really all blue thing going on.
See, and I think the blue splatter looks like awful. And like, I don't love the Splatterhouse 3 cover either, because he's killing a monster that looks horrendously stupid.
See,
yeah, all right.
I don't even like process the box arts of these. I see Splatterhouse 2 and like my gut instinct is like, ooh, blue. That's the rarer, more interesting Splatterhouse. And I see Splatterhouse 3 and I'm like, ugh, red. That's the less interesting Splatterhouse game.
I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't go, oh, that's the later release. Less were made, more desirable.
But there's less Splatterhouse 2s out there.
Is there?
I mean, there's definitely more Splatterhouse 3s. I think that's the only reason Splatterhouse 2 is more in price. No one is like pricing these based on the gameplay. I just think Splatterhouse 2 is more expensive because there's fewer of them.
Maybe.
Daddy Milk, come at us with the correct answer there. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I'm going to say I think Splatterhouse 3 is more expensive.
What? That is objectively false. Even though we have no way of knowing because price charting websites are all garbage. But let's go. I'll fight you right now. This is truly after dark because like someone's listening to this like, what is going? Did they even like think about this episode before they started recording? No, we're doing it live. Splatterhouse. What do you got, Johnny? Did you already look it up?
No, I didn't.
I'm looking it up. Doesn't matter. Here we go. Splatterhouse 2. PAL. Nope. Splatterhouse 2, $278 on US, and Splatterhouse 3, $231. Splatterhouse 2 is more expensive. Where's my Sega gang? Splatterhouse 2 wins.
I guess I would lose here on the random, like, pick the price of the game. Game that is attached to price charting that I was just shown.
Is that new? Yeah, that was posted in our Discord. Price charting has like a little HTML game where it makes you guess the price of a game. It gives you like 3 prices that it could be, and you have to guess what the right one is. And they'll put like pretty good fake answers. So if the price is like exactly $40, they'll put in like a $26. So it's like, oh well, maybe it's that one because that's really specific. I don't know. It's kind of fun.
It was kind of fun. My best score was plus 400.
I have no idea what my best score is.
So, come at me with your scores. I was like 71% accuracy. It wasn't great.
Johnny, a fun fact about Splatterhouse 2, coming at you from the Heritage Auctions. A 9.8A copy of it sold for over $7,000.
I'm sorry.
Who there is spending $7,000 on Splatterhouse 2? As someone who has just deemed it the most iconic and cool Sega Genesis horror game, for collectors at least. $7,000?
That's extreme, guys. Maybe slow down.
It's also pretty fucking radical.
I don't know what that was.
That was, like Bill and Ted. Anyway.
Oh, okay.
Iron Maiden. Excellent.
Is Iron Maiden a band you like?
And Bill and Ted like it.
I'm still on Castlevania.
But like Bloodlines? All right, I haven't played Bloodlines since like high school. So sell me on this cuz like Castlevania, I know all the horror monsters. Like I played Castlevania so much. I've got the whole game memorized. I don't know.
It's just like Mary of Bath, like it, you get to explore different areas of Castlevania that aren't like commonly brought up, and it's got like based on a real killer who may or may not have bathed in bathtubs of blood, which is like pretty fucking awesome. I do find the cover to be a little wretched towards the top of it. It's nice that there is box variants to collect. You can collect a slide box, a flip top box, and just a clamshell. Is it one of the Castlevania? Is it one of the Konami classics too? I think it's a Konami classic.
I don't
What's
know.
an underrated subset?
To specify what Johnny is talking about, under the Konami logo on certain Sega Genesis games, in the faintest, thinnest font they could possibly print, they print the word in white, classics. So instead of like a greatest hits or a platinum hits cover where it like completely changes the case and the box art and makes it like the most loud green, yellow, silver thing, it is like you have to take a magnifying glass out and look under the Konami logo and it will say classics. And there's only a few games that have it. It's the most obscure budget label of all time. It's so strange.
Okay. You know what? I'm gonna give you I'm going to give you Splatterhouse here, but I'm going to fight you for the next console for Castlevania. New title of this episode is it Castlevania or not?
I know. We can't just do a game or like, what's the best horror game on all the consoles? It's all the Castlevanias. Thanks for listening to the Collector's Quest podcast. Here's a price charting.
Yeah, we like Castlevania a whole lot, so we made a list of Castlevania games for you. Please enjoy. Just the worst.
All right, what are you? Turbo graphics, Johnny. That's what we're talking about. PC Engine. Are you seriously? Are you going to bring up Rondo of Blood? Or are we going to say like
I am going to bring up Rondo of Blood? I'm not going to say it has to be that. I actually like everything about Splatterhouse on the Turbo graphics better. Like box art and everything better for that than what's it called? For the Genesis. You've also got Ghost Manor, but that's just like a terrible game. You also have Addams Family
from the desert.
Look, you have it from the desert. You also have this fine choice, which we just don't get to do very often. Addams Family, where you don't play as any of the Addams. Remember, you get to be the lawyer. Tully.
That is. So, explain it again for our audience who doesn't remember our every conversation.
So, Castlevania, Casper, the Addams Family CD game for the Turbo graphics. You don't play as any of the Addams. You play as Tully, the lawyer, the money grubbing lawyer who was embezzling from the Addams. Who dies? Yeah, this is who you play as.
Johnny's not going to be that. Is it weird? Like, I love the Addams Family pinball machine, and I have no attachment to anything else Addams Family. I could not care less about the Addams Family.
Did you not watch the movies?
I didn't know that there were two movies. Remember, we had this conversation. I think it's the Addams Family and Addams Family Values. I'm like, there's two of them?
Yeah.
So I've probably seen at least one of them. And I remember a black and white TV show. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yes.
Is that like a Nick at Night thing or something? I remember watching that a little bit, but like, whatever. None of that is as memorable or as good as the pinball machine.
Monsters is made as a response to it. This is drawn off of, oh my God, I forgot the original cartoonist name. Shit.
Also,
anyways,
the Monsters pinball machine, Johnny, nowhere near as good as Addams Family. You know?
So it was originally like a comic. It was featured in the New Yorker and things like that. So yeah, it went from comic strip to show to movie to animation, and there's been 2 animated films now.
Stage play.
Then you have one of the biggest shows on Netflix, Wednesday, based around this.
She is like, totally
come on.
me.
No, she is. Shut up.
I've never seen it. I have no idea.
Oh.
It just seems like someone that people would be like, yeah, she's totally me about.
People, yeah, you know, all those 90s goth girls were like, finally, my spirit animal has arrived. That's fine. I watched it. I liked it. It's also Tim Burton. It's like, well, of course. And look, I'm a whore for Tim Burton. I know what I am. So yeah, it's weird that we don't have more picks for the Addams Family. I wish they made some cooler games, but hey, Cousin Tully, who's embezzling from the Addams.
All right, Johnny, bringing it back to the serious picks. It's Splatterhouse versus Rondo of Blood, and I'm just gonna say,
what about Ghost Manor? You don't think Ghost Manor's got a pretty cool cover?
It's Splatterhouse versus Rondo of Blood, and I think the kind of status of
what about
Rondo
Night
of Blood.
Creatures? Hold on. What about Night Creatures? It's kind of like Altered Beast. You like Altered Beast?
No one likes Altered Beast.
I like Altered Beast.
No, you don't. No one likes Altered Beast. No one's like, man, I really feel like getting out Altered Beast and playing through a loop.
I like it fine. Okay, so is there... It's Rondo of Blood, right?
Yeah. I was just saying, I think this has always been like the number one cool PC Engine game to import is Rondo of Blood. And over the past like 10, 15 years, its stature has only increased as it has become easier and easier to play through like the PSP version, through all the digital releases, through whatever versions are out there now. I know there are more ways to play Rondo of Blood now.
Yes.
I would call the box art iconic. It's got Dracula, it's got bats, it's got Richter. It's the game. Akamaja Dracula X is a cool fucking name for a game. Everything about this is the game. And I realize we're picking another goddamn fucking Castlevania game. But this is so obviously the game, even over Splatterhouse, I would say.
I agree.
You'll be the coolest guy on Halloween if you post your Rondo of Blood.
Yeah, so many ways to play it now. What does this game go for? Like $200?
I'm not looking it up, but I'm gonna say 150, 200.
So, and then if you wanted to buy like the limited run, like Rondo of Blood Symphony of the Night 2-pack, then you can get that.
So,
for like
okay,
$40.
let's just take a pause here, Johnny, and do what's the more collectible thing? The original real PC Engine version of the game or something made by limited run games? What should I spend my money on?
You should spend your money on the original. But if you were just trying to play it, that's all I was saying. Or if you have it, then buy both. Actually, I think the most collectible thing you can do is buy the Castlevania Requiem of Blood Ultimate Edition, where you get like a card in there and the box lights up a little.
Do you think that's the most collectible over just owning a real version of Rondo of Blood?
No, I don't think that.
Okay. Yes. So yeah, that's like I'm just on some random website. They've got it for $35. It's on BestBuy.com for $35. Or you literally just buy Castlevania Requiem on the PlayStation Store if you want to play it for $20. But if you want to collect it, I'm just saying, I don't care if the limited run games one's $35. I don't care if there's some special edition that's $120. Just save your money and put it towards the real thing. I realize Rondo of Blood, Akamaja Dracula X on the PC Engine it's not a rare game. It's never going to be like some super expensive game, but I always think it will be the game to have of all these other re-releases of it.
Yeah.
All right.
This is a flex. People see this and like, oh shit.
Yeah. If people who know nothing about PC Engine, this is like the one game that people know. So
this is true.
You always get something out of it. Because the only reason to own games is to impress other people, to be clear, is what we are saying.
Yeah, 100%. Don't buy them because you like them.
Delete your Instagrams. Everyone right now go delete Instagram. Mark Zuckerberg is stealing your video game data. And he's trapping you in dopamine feedback loops. Johnny, Sega CD 32X?
Yep.
Why are we talking about this?
Look, because there is a good pick here. What are you talking about? There's lots of good picks.
There's lots of good picks. There's like 200 games total. Not even, I think.
Look, there is a game. It's a staple pick. It's iconic. And it's about vampires. It's Night Trap.
Yeah. So I have 2 notes. I went through the libraries of the CD and the 32X looking for something. Yeah. My first note that I wrote down is it's definitely not Night Trap because Night Trap sucks. And then the only things that I think like fit are literally again, like the 4th console, Bram Stoker's Dracula and Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. And guess what? Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is only available in a 2-pack with Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Hey, there's Dracula Unleashed and there's Mansion of Hidden Souls
and
as well.
You're right.
And I think the best game on there is actually Mansion of Hidden Souls.
So there's a butterfly on the cover of Mansion of Hidden Souls, so it automatically loses the Halloween department.
I kind of agree with you there.
Yeah, it's definitely Night Trap. Even though like Night Trap is like a campy, not horrific thing. Like Night Trap is super goofy, but
and Corpse Killer on the 32X is just atrocious. Yeah. I also don't like the zombie coming out of it looks stupid to me. But I still think it's Night Trap because Night Trap has other things going for it.
I mean, as a collectible, Night Trap has a ton going. It was in a congressional hearing.
Yeah.
Fucking asshole Joe Lieberman, nothing about his politics, just a stupid crusade against violent video games. Yeah, it's crazy that Night Trap was brought into Congress. Oh, Night Trap! What a cool piece of history! I love Night Trap for a lot of reasons. All of them completely unrelated to the gameplay or even the FMV. It's Night Trap, and you want the red box cardboard version. That's the original release without the rating logo on it. So the chronology of Night Traps is the red box without the mature rating on it. I forgot what the exact rating is. Then it's the red box with the rating on it. Then there's a blue box release, which is it's also a cardboard box, but like the nice thick cardboard. And then there's a CD 32X release, which comes in the yellow box.
Yep, and that one has the worst cover. The red box too also has like this like drawn cover that looks like campy horror, versus
yeah, it's much better art. The blue box is just like a cutout of the girl in the Night Trap logo, right?
Yeah, so is the yellow box. Yeah, it's just like, this game is FMV, and you're just like, please stop that.
Very unappealing.
The Mega CD version has like an even different cover. I don't know if you've seen that one. It's just like half a girl's face that is that girl even in the game? Like, what is this version? You can't tell what kind of game this is. It looks like it could be anything.
Johnny, if you're going through the saloon doors in the back of the video rental store to pick up your copy of the explicit game Night Trap, you already know what you're in for.
Hey, why were those always those like weird hinge doors? Was it a saloon door so you could see if people's legs were like in there so you could see? Like, what was that?
I mean, you got to make sure they're not whacking it. So you want to give them like some privacy, but not like can't have too much privacy back there.
Is that what you think it is?
I think that's what it is.
Man, no wonder porn exploded once the internet happened. People could just be like, finally, I don't have to be shamed walking through some barn doors as a 16-year-old girl who just like wants to try and finish her homework and also work at the same time. She has to rent movies to people. Gross. I don't know.
She has to touch those with her hands, which is even more gross.
My friend worked at this video store called Alamo Video by my house, and there was always this section. She's just like, oh, it's the worst when they go in there. She's like, and I don't like want to walk over there and check because that's gross too. And just like, what do you do? She's like, I just ignore it. It's like, okay, sorry. Anyways,
they're just movies. They're films for entertainment. Just different kind of entertainment.
You're just watching those for the acting, I'm sure.
Johnny, I just want to say, because I did waste a number of hours on my life confirming this, I have played Night Trap, the red box version, the blue box version, and the CD32X version, and I cannot stress to you how repetitive and shitty Night Trap is as a video game.
It's horrible.
It makes you watch the same FMVs over and over again. So for me to play through the same game 3 times, which is like, oh man, it is like a little bit stressful. You've got like so basically Night Trap, it gives you like, I forget if it's 6 or 8 video feeds, and you have to basically go to the right video feed at the right timestamp and press a button to attack the augurs, who are the bad guys attacking the house. And there will be like video feed 4 at 1 minute 44 seconds, and then you got to go back to video feed 1 at 1 minute 45 seconds. You got like 1 second to switch a feed and press a button. And it's the least fun, most ridiculous game. So anyway, I played through that, and like I had to fail at specific points to get specific fail cutscenes, because people on the internet were talking about all this shit that's censored in certain versions of Night Trap. There's no fucking differences between any of the Sega CD versions of Night Trap. Nothing is censored. Because I wasted my life on this, stop saying it was censored. Thank you. That's what I got.
Okay.
Let's go on to the Sega Saturn, Johnny.
All right, Sega Saturn. But first, I want to make a brief pit stop at the 3DO.
We're not picking Night Trap again.
Let's pick Night Trap. No, I want to pick Alone in the Dark.
Ooh.
There are obviously much better versions of Alone in the Dark to play, but it's pretty cool that Alone in the Dark is there.
I mean, what else is even on the 3DO? So,
Casper. There is Escape from Monster Manor. There's Corpse Killer. There's Night Trap. Some people say that this is a better version of Night Trap than on the Sega 32X. The camera switching is faster. The audio is a little better. I don't know if I care about any of that. I think the definitive version as a collectible is still always going to be that original red box.
I mean, they were talking about Sega games in Congress. It is definitely the Sega CD thing. Like fucking who was the Nintendo lore guy? I don't remember who it was right now. But he was like, Mario is never gonna. What'd he say about? He made some dig about Night Trap and how Sega is a console for degenerates. Yeah. It's 4 a.m. It's 3 a.m. I don't got the memory right now, Johnny.
Another interesting choice, and I know you like to poo-poo it, but Casper. Casper is a weird game. It's a weird version on the 3DO. I also just like to bring it up. I bring up Casper all the time. People are like, I'm like, you realize Casper is about a dead child, right? It's like Casper is a dead child, like half the time trying to become alive again. That's fucking weird. But he has
like a real girl love interest, and he's a cute little bullied kid. So like, there's nothing.
Yeah, he smiles, spooky. But that's like it's the smile of the dead.
At the end of the movie, doesn't he like basically turn into a real boy, or he at least isn't a little white blob anymore? Spoilers for 1995 hit movie Casper. But
yeah. I think Casper on the 3DO. I don't think it was based on the movie. There's so many versions of Casper.
Wait, it's not based on the movie?
I think this one isn't. Also, there's so many different versions of Casper, even on the Super Nintendo. The Super Nintendo version is different than the Super Famicom version. Casper's a weird game.
All right. Casper's from 1945? I had no idea Casper was that old.
Oh, yeah. Been around a long time.
Wow.
Anyways, I'm giving it to Alone in the Dark because Alone in the Dark, as you know, I don't need to tell you this, it is one of the forerunners of survival horror.
I mean, I don't even know if it's a forerunner. It might be just like one of the first survival horror games.
Yeah. So, it's always the caveat, right? People are like, well, this game, like they try to take it to like some edgy pick, but like, you want a Haunted Mansion game? You know I love Haunted Mansion games, right? Like, you understand my favorite version of Halloween is a haunted house, and like somebody has to go into it and do something. And that is what Alone in the Dark is. I don't want more than that.
Yeah. I mean, like, it like the reason that you have like these shitty fixed cameras in like your Silent Hills and Resident Evil is because Alone in the Dark had to do it for like technical reasons. And they're like, oh, this is actually kind of scary. This is great.
Yeah. So yeah, I just throwing that out there, and then I have a quick CDI pick too, kind of the same reason. Their CDI leaves a lot to be desired.
Where are we going? We're
well, look,
we're so off script. Okay, what do we got?
I'm just throwing it out there real quick. Seventh Guest.
So, you see, the reason I don't like either of these picks is that I identify them so strongly as PC games.
I agree, but we're on consoles right now. So.
I don't think that's the case for every game, because I think, like, Star Control 2, even though there is a PC version, I strongly identify that as a 3DO game. But you're picking some PC-ass PC games, especially Seventh Guest. I mean, it's a CDI, one of the most. So, like, what is a CDI game?
I'm just saying, if you were buying a CDI and you had to pick the Halloween game, I'm just picking Seventh Guest.
I hate multi-platform games, Johnny. So
I know you do.
This might come as a shock to you. I cannot recall the CDI library off the top of my head. So can I maybe get a better like an overview of things that might be exclusive? Maybe. I know the Berenstain Bears on their own and you on your own is not an exclusive, as far as I know.
That's true. You might find this hard to believe, but like, I also don't have a complete list of CDI games. Okay. I think Dark Castle is a CDI game, right?
It definitely is. So like, Dark Castle is a great pick. I love Dark Castle. Maybe over Seventh Guest.
Faces of Evil you could pick because there's like faces and they're evil, right? Is that
Wow, okay. It's horrific because it's the Zelda games, but they're bad.
Yeah, they are very scary. Yeah, like Castle of Evil has the whole medieval thing going. I just, it doesn't do it for me. I know it should do more, but
wait, what's Castle of Evil? Is that a CDI game?
I'm sorry, Dark Castle.
Oh no, I love how bad Dark Castle is because Dark Castle is like a famously hard to control and bad platformer. I know there's people who like Dark Castle. And the fact that it's on CDI, a famously hard to control and bad console, it's just it's delightful. I bought Dark Castle on CDI just for the reason that I think it's a delightful combination. But of course, Dark Castle, originally a Macintosh game. Don't try to find it. I've had a save search for a long time. I think one nice one has come up since I've been looking, and I didn't bid high enough, and now I'm just sitting here being like, why didn't I just bid another $40 or something? Ugh. Johnny, I hate that feeling.
I also hate that.
That's why you should just bid $4,000 on every auction that you ever want, because you're gonna regret it otherwise.
Never let them win. Right? You gotta
never let them win. Exactly.
What is this game? Little Devil or something? I don't know exactly what that is. Or Little Monster at School. These sound terrible.
Little Devil's on like Mega CD too. Not that like every multi-platform game has to be discluded. Johnny, what's Uncover featuring Tatiana? That sounds like a really interesting game.
I don't know. Like my list where I'm like, okay, this console has these Halloween games. Like I literally just wrote the 7th guest.
Okay. All right. Yeah, let's stop talking about CDI. No one wants to hear about this. I don't even want to talk about this. Also, Uncover is like a porn game. I was just joking. I
mean, I would have accepted Love at First Bite for the 3DO.
Is that real?
Yeah.
How do I not even know these games exist? Love at First Bite? Unless you're talking about
it's the
Love Bites.
Game. Yeah, that's what I mean. Love Bites.
Okay. Yeah, that's the Vivid Interactive game. You know, we have a porn episode coming up. We will talk about Love Bites. Not a terrible pick, honestly. I'm almost positive I've posted that for Halloween at some point on Instagram.
It's a game I don't have and I want it.
Okay. It is charitable to call this a game. We were talking about a softcore porn video CD for the 3DO called Love Bites with a vampire theme. Delightful.
Boobs and vampires, guys. What could go wrong? Nothing.
The Sega Saturn.
Yes.
What do we got?
Oh, there's just games. Your hate for the Sega Saturn is going to make it hard for you.
I don't hate the Sega Saturn. I do hate most of the horror games. I don't hate them, but it's not the version of Resident Evil for me.
So I'm not picking it as my Resident Evil. So you've got Alone in the Dark, One Eye Jack's Revenge. You've got D, which I think is a fine pick.
I think people don't actually care about D or Lunacy. Those are just games that people buy because of the theme, and it's just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, sure. You could pick Darkstalker's Revenge. Here, you've got Frankenstein Through the Eyes of the Monster. That's an import. Necronomicon, also an import.
So it's Deep Fear, the European Deep Fear. Does that win?
No, you also have other games, Tyler.
You got Mr. Bones.
You've got Mr. Bones.
Did you mention the awful port of House of the Dead? Did I miss that?
No, I was getting there. I was saving that for last. So you've got House of the Dead, and you also have what else? I'm sure there's a Frankenstein game. Right? It's got to be a Frankenstein game. No, there's no.
There's only like 250 games. Is this the first one that doesn't have a Frankenstein game?
I think so. No, there's Frankenstein Eyes of the Monster, which I said. So it's a power release. Dark Seed. We said D. House of the Dead. Corpse Killer shows up again. I think that's like it.
Which one of these have a chance of actually winning? I will I will give Resident Evil a chance to actually be it.
House of the Dead.
House of the Dead.
Yep.
Is it the only home port of House of the Dead 1?
Yep.
Oh, that fucking sucks. Is Deep Fear on Mega CD? Is Deep Fear on anything else?
Yes.
I don't believe you. I'm looking up Deep Fear.
Okay. It's not on Mega CD. It's on Import Saturn and PlayStation.
If it's on PlayStation, it's out. No, it says Wikipedia says it's only on Saturn.
Is it only on Saturn? It's PAL. I think it's just the Japanese version's like $15, and you need English to play, or you need to be able to read to play it.
So, yeah, Sega AM1 was one of the developers on it. So, all right.
But I don't think people like really care about Deep Fear.
You don't think people care about Deep Fear? Didn't we just talk about this as like
we did?
It's cool for some reason.
Yeah, we were picking Saturn games, and this was like my bonus pick. And you're like, no one cares about this bullshit.
So the tables have turned. So I used to say no one cares about this bullshit, and you picked it, and now I'm picking it, and you're saying no one cares about this bullshit.
I'm just saying compared to House of the Dead, no one cares about this.
Oh, you're not gonna. Oh, why are we picking a Saturn arcade port? Anything but a Saturn arcade port.
This is what they would play. It doesn't matter. Like people, you keep saying ports. Ports don't matter. Like if people only have the console, then it doesn't matter that it's a port. Who gives a shit?
Matt, we live in the future. We could play whatever game we want by going to coolron.com.
No, you're collecting. You could play anything on the computer. This is a bad argument.
You're collecting. You're not playing it anyway, so you could.
That's what I'm saying. So it doesn't matter if there's a better version of it.
Resident Evil then, because that matters more.
No, because we're gonna pick Resident Evil on the PS1 where it's more iconic.
Oh, what you mean, Silent Hill or Resident Evil 2? No, probably Silent Hill. We'll talk about that.
I mean, Resident Evil presents a lot of interesting choices. Or PlayStation 1 presents choices.
All right, we'll go with House of the Dead.
Okay.
Damn it. I do like House of the Dead. Just not the Saturn version, because I'm a piece of shit snob, I guess.
You are a piece of shit snob.
That is one of Ada's favorite arcade games. Even more than House
It's fucking
of the Dead
great.
2.
Love it. If there's a version, like if I walk out of a movie and it's sitting there and I got $1, I'm like, oh, I know what I'm putting this dollar. Just give it my quarters.
The movie theater. I haven't been to a movie theater in forever. Like, if I think it, like my classic picture of a movie theater, it's like it better have a Time Crisis 2, and don't give me that upgraded Time Crisis 3. I played so much goddamn Time Crisis 2. I'm only accepting, quote unquote, the original being Time Crisis 2.
Fair enough.
Am I remembering right that Time Crisis only has like 3 levels? Johnny, we're getting off track.
We are. Bring it back.
House of the Dead for Sega Saturn. All right, I don't hate it. I mean, I do hate it, but I don't hate it.
House of the Dead, Sega Saturn. We got there, guys. We got him there. You can buy a very cheap Japanese version of it for like $30. Or
I mean, much better pickup, I would say.
It's like, or you could spend all the monies and get the US long box release of it, where you're gonna spend $500-ish. Woof.
Oof, Sega Saturn. Why are you the way you are? But you can get 176 likes on Instagram. Get that dopamine.
176 likes. You want them? Yeah. I was like hoping Solds would prove me wrong. No, it's like $500.
Okay. So, are we moving on to the Nintendo 64, Johnny?
I thought we were going to do PS1. You want to save PS1 to fight about it?
Yeah, I want to save PS1 because it's going to be the most interesting. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe not.
All right. Let's do N64. What do you got?
So, Nintendo 64. This is my first thought. I don't actually want to pick this. My first thought was Shadowgate 64, and that made me think, oh, we didn't talk about Beyond Shadowgate. And then I realized it was TurboGrafx and Rondo of Blood was going to win, so it doesn't matter.
Well, also, just Beyond Shadowgate, we're still in the medieval stuff for me.
Okay. Yeah, all right. I mean, yeah, Shadowgate's not going to win. Don't tell me it's not Castlevania.
It's not. But what's your pick? Because you got like Nightmare Creatures, right?
Yeah.
You could pick.
I mean,
but
you've got.
Do you know what the
Doom
pick is?
64. This Halloween. The demons.
Got Resident Evil 2. They fucking made Resident Evil 2 and made it work. I've talked about this before, but it's an engineering marvel that Resident Evil 2 is on the N64.
We just came off a console where we picked a bad version of a good game, and I'm not doing it again.
This is not the game's fault that there are better versions of it. We're only looking at this console. Everything else doesn't matter.
No, because when I see the iconic collectible game, the iconic collectible Halloween game of a console, I want to be like, hell yeah, I want to collect that. And I do not see Resident Evil 2 on the Nintendo 64, and I'm like, hell yeah, I want to collect that. But when I see it on the PlayStation, I'm like, hell yeah, I want to collect that. I haven't played Resident Evil 2 on the Nintendo 64, but I know how blurry, shitty, and full of voice... I know how blurry and shitty the Nintendo 64 is, and how like full of voice acting and crisp PS1 graphics Resident Evil 2 is. So
let's talk about some of our choices. We have Castlevania, Legacy of Darkness, Nightmare Creatures, Resident Evil.
God fucking damn it! I don't know enough about Nightmare Creatures.
It's fine.
Doom 64, Johnny. It's
not really. It's very hard for me to pick a first person.
All right, so this is really not a.
And also, there's a better version of Nightmare Creatures on the PS1.
Oh, got him! So it's got to be Shadowgate 64.
So, yeah, I think we agree. It's got to be nope. Resident Evil 2.
Oh, I hate this. What was what did I want to pick on the Saturn? Did I want to pick I want to pick Deep Fear. Oh, but it's so not Deep Fear on the Saturn. And it's probably so not Shadowgate 64 either.
Nope.
Oh, and everyone loves Resident Evil 2. I love Resident Evil 2. God, we're picking two shitty ports in a row. I can't stand it. All right, Resident Evil 2, the least exciting game that I don't want to collect, is the most iconic collectible Nintendo 64 Halloween game.
I mean, man, I'm surprised you didn't, like, we're locking it in, but I'm surprised you didn't try and hit me with, like, the Majora's Mask angle.
Oh, make you wear masks that whole game. And it's spooky, scary. Oh, let's change it.
And it's a big moon.
Let's change it. Man, that moon is scary. That game is so weird and scary. Oh, the Happy Mask, the salesman, he's so scary.
Majora's Mask, lock it in. I was just putting Resident Evil on you the whole time to see if you would arrive at Majora's Mask to fucking flip it on you.
No, I didn't even think of that. You're the one who thinks of, like, I realize, like, that is a pretty creepy game regardless, but you're the one who would think about something like a game where you wear masks and be like, oh yeah, Halloween, yeah. I never think about that. I'm like, if it doesn't have literally Dracula and Frankenstein, it's not Halloween. Doesn't count.
Well, I'm glad I could help you out.
All right.
How relieved do you feel? You feel so much better right now. You feel so much. I can feel your relief right now.
I mean, I don't feel that much better. I mean, it's not like a little bit creepy. It's a game that has creepy vibes all around it, and it's about wearing masks. So I do think it very much fits the category, but it's not like the most horrific game that we could have possibly chosen.
No, like we definitely, I still think there's an argument for Resident Evil 2. I just know that you were going to fucking fight me on it tooth and nail.
Yeah.
I was surprised I got it in there. I'm like, really settling on it, huh? Interesting.
I mean, Resident Evil 2 is so fucking good. Like, I can only fight you so hard on that. Like, as much as I don't like the House of the Dead Saturn port, like, House of the Dead is a great game. It's nowhere near as good as Resident Evil 2, though.
No. How much does a Majora's Mask cost? Or are we in the realm, like, the special edition? You should get the collector's edition, right?
I mean, it's debatable. And I know in the sealed market, you definitely don't want a collector's edition because they're rarer. Like, whatever. I don't think it matters. I think, like, for the Ocarina of Time, I want the collector's edition because it's a gold cartridge, but every cartridge of Majora's Mask is gold. I know there's the foil or the like holographic thing.
Lenticular, but sure.
Lenticular. What am I? Label. Cartridge label is the word I'm looking for, Johnny, as we roll on to 3:30 a.m. Hot damn. Video games are expensive, but it is a Zelda game, so what am I really expecting here? $150 to $250? Whew, man, maybe $350 if you have a real nice one.
Yeah, if you
let's say $200 to $300 for most copies, even pretty nice ones. All right. I mean, what are you gonna do? It's Majora's Mask. I guess get the collector's edition. You see, I don't know. I mean, I think you have to make your own choice because I'm just scrolling through and there's definitely more collector's editions than non-collector's editions. So if you like getting the rarer stuff, maybe you can get the non-one.
But no one cares about that. Like the player's choice argument. Well, player's choice definitely has the smaller print run. So that's got to be more collectible, right? And it's got better content. People are like, nah.
All right, how about this? I think you should get whichever one matches your Ocarina of Time because like these are such a set. They're such a set down to the fact that they both have like the worst box art of any game in history. And you know what? This is really a Nintendo, an American Zelda problem. But it's just the fucking logo. It says Zelda and it has some blurry shit in the background. And all of the 12-year-old millennials out there were like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. And nothing about it sells you the game. It's just like, it's Zelda, you will buy it. And I kind of get Ocarina of Time because Ocarina of Time, they made it and they're like, we did it. We made the best game ever made. Literally just put a gold box with the Zelda logo on it. This is going to be this iconic release. It's the biggest action adventure game release of all time. But Majora's Mask, you can't do it again. It's hubris to do it again. And they did it with like Link's Awakening. They did it with even like Zelda 2. And I hate American Zelda box art. It is so stupid. Ocarina of Time 3DS, I think, has a stupid box. Is that just the logo?
Yeah, kind of.
Why?
And then there's 3DS.
In the 3DS era, like people know, like the Japanese art exists. I guess they do have Link.
It's kind of like in the distance on Eponia.
That might be the Japanese N64 box art. If it's not, it's reminiscent of it. Either way, we got to stop with these Zelda games that are just logos.
Look, man, the fact that Zelda wasn't a gold cart on the Super Nintendo still kills me. It will forever kill me. Like, what the fuck happened? It's obnoxious. Anyways, let's move on to the PlayStation 1. This is it. We're the end of the show, Tyler. We made it.
The end of the show. I mean, we could go on. We could talk about GameCube, Eternal Darkness, Resident Evil 4. All right, Johnny. I know there's going to be a lot on PlayStation, so hit me with some.
Well, Tyler, I think you've got all the Resident Evils to choose from.
No, you don't. You have Resident Evil 1 and 2, but really you probably only have Resident Evil
3, Codename Veronica.
No, you don't. No.
Or Code Veronica.
We're not picking Resident Evil Codename Veronica as the marquee Halloween game on the PlayStation.
There's not a better Halloween game out there, I think, than Code Veronica. Right? That's correct. Okay, let me hit you with some. Look, there's Alien, right? Alien Trilogy. That the one? There's multiple Casper games.
I hadn't considered that.
Clock Tower. There is Clock Tower. It's just called Clock Tower, but in Japan it's Clock Tower 2. There's Clock Tower 2, which in Japan is Clock Tower Ghostface. Did you know that?
I sure didn't.
Yeah, so this is Clock Tower 2 in Japan is considered a spin-off game, but here it got proper numbering.
That's weird.
Anyways, there's D. You've got Darkstalkers again. You've got Echo Knight. Here's one I know you're not considering. Muppet Monster Adventure.
When you said the M, I was so sure you were going to say Mizurna Falls, which is an import that's like Twin Peaks. But no, you're right. I wasn't considering any Muppets games at all.
Yeah, well, this is the Monster Adventure. You have Nightmare Creatures 1 and 2. You've got Silent Hill. So I think really it comes down to kind of 2 games or 3 games. I think it's like, do you want it to be Silent Hill or a Resident Evil game. I think I can push it to 2. There's also Castlevania Symphony of the Night, which is one of the best games ever made, so I understand picking it, but quintessential Halloween game that you think of when you think of a PS1, the staple of Halloween, I think some people are going to gravitate to it, but I think more people are just going to pick Resident Evil.
I think you're right. I don't think I can argue against this, even though I think Silent Hill 1 is a much, much better game than Resident Evil.
Yeah. I think if you like Halloween games and horror games, I think you have a lot of good choices if you want to just collect them.
But we have to pick one.
Yeah,
and it's just going to be Resident Evil Long Box, and I hate that. I hate that. Yep. Silent Hill's so creepy. Resident Evil is just it's boring. It's got the cool jump. It's got a couple cool jump scares. Man, that first, like the right in the early game, got the dog in the window is so cool.
And, my problem with Resident Evil is, I told you, I love haunted house games. Put me in a situation where I'm in a haunted house. Great. What I don't like is that it becomes not a haunted house game at the end of the game. Then it becomes, an evil corporation. It's like, fucking all corporations are evil. Just stop it. This is not, yes, every corporation is doing something. It's like, it was much cooler when there was something going on at the house. And like, look, we took this wild left turn and we're not only are we making the zombies, but we're producing it on purpose so we can rule the world or create some export. I don't fucking know. It gets really boring to me there. Even though I like the Resident Evil games, it's like every time I think of Umbrella, the corporation that's out there doing this, I get bored. That's why I like Resident Evil 4. You don't get a lot of the Umbrella stuff right in your face. You're just like, you're trapped in this weird village and you're going through, and I don't have to think about Umbrella.
That's where that's such an integral part of the Resident Evil games. It's so weird that you're like, oh, Umbrella Corporation. You mean like the whole reason these zombie things exist?
I don't like when I first started playing the game, it was a creepy fucking mansion with locked doors and missing friends and zombie dogs jumping through windows. And then it became, look, scary monsters that we're making. Because you know what's scarier than the monsters? The not monsters who make the monsters. I don't need scientific reasons for my monsters. I don't care. Like, this canister fell in the graveyard and all the dead walk up and there's zombies now. Cool, that's about as much explanation as I need. I don't need to be like, look, they're scientists and we're an evil corporation and we're constructing this because we're evil and love money. Well, get out of here. That's boring.
I don't know, Johnny. The game I've been playing a lot lately is all about the evils of evil capitalist corporations. I like it.
Oh.
I don't know. You know what, Johnny? There's a game that is, one might say, very similar to Resident Evil, but it doesn't have any of that. And it may be, instead of a corporation, it just has a really creepy town where weird stuff happens all the time.
Love it. Love Silent Hill for that.
See, this is a case where, I would definitely pick Silent Hill. It could go toe to toe with Resident Evil 2 for me, but if we're picking one, I'm not going to pick the sequel over the original when they're on the same console.
Right.
I don't think anything's going to beat Resident Evil, though. As much as you can complain about, Umbrella Corporation and you don't like that aspect of the story.
No, I told you, I think it's Resident Evil. I think that Resident Evil, it's fine. And I think Castlevania Symphony of the Night is just one of the best games ever. It's in my top 10 game list. And I gotta fucking pick Resident Evil. I'm not happy about it.
I mean, it also has going for it the cool long box, compared to the jewel case, a really iconic and neat variant, and a much more imposing game compared to Silent Hill. Silent Hill also has the variant. Silent Hill has the foil cover on the early prints of the game.
No, it's not foil. It's just darker or lighter.
It's it's like a reflective manual on the early prints of the game.
Yeah, but it's not really foily, is it?
It's not foily, but it is it changes it. The light hits it different. I don't know what to call it.
It's matte versus glossy.
Sure, it's basically matte versus glossy. And I mean, it's cool, but it's not as cool as having a giant box. So
No, and like Resident Evil,
all right,
just established PlayStation. It just did too much.
Johnny, what I'm getting? What's a Resident Evil long box cost these days? Just to give the hot collectors tips.
Let's find out, shall we?
Let's live Google
Really
because this is CQ After Dark, guys.
Really interesting content when we have to do this.
Let's just search something for you. What I'm getting from this whole episode, Johnny, is that I think we picked a lot of the iconic stuff. So let's say like Castlevania, I think that's like a clear win. But then when we get to a lot of the other consoles, it's not the game that I would pick first to play.
No.
I mean, like, I know people love Zombies Ate My Neighbors. Super Ghouls and Ghosts would definitely be my game to play on the Super Nintendo. I mean, Sega CD, my game to play would be literally any other game except for Night Trap. Genesis, Splatterhouse 2. I don't know if there's a better horror game that I would want to play. Not Haunting starring Poltergeist. I mean, that game's fine. It's unique and interesting, but What did we say for Saturn's House of the Dead?
Yep. And just by the way, prices, you're looking anywhere from like $80 to $150 for a nice long box. And you could spend more than that.
One of the
most
iconic games of all time, like the beginning, not the beginning of an entire genre, because it is probably closer to Sweet Home or Alone in the Dark, but like kind of the, for all intents and purposes, like in the sense of like Super Mario Brothers is the first side-scrolling platformer type deal. Like that's what Resident Evil is to survival horror. For such an iconic game, that's not that bad these days.
No.
You should really probably buy Resident Evil.
Yeah, like even some of the nicer copies get up at like $175, $200. Here's the problem with that is the box type it's in is the worst box type.
Whatever, get a glue stick. Whatever, damage your game. You don't care. Just
you're not. Look, it's gonna fall off by itself, and then you're gonna see where the 2 glue or the 5 glue dots I think are on them. And just remember that, and then just glue it back on yourself.
Yeah, buy it now, because if you spent like $600 on this, like let's say we're 20 years in the future and Resident Evil costs $600, then you're gonna be like, do I want to use a glue stick on this such expensive game I bought? So buy it when it's $150, and they'll be like, this looks like shit. Let me just glue stick this real quick.
And that's another strategy I might go for. Like if I saw one that was peeling, like if as long as it wasn't scuffed and like bad, if it was just like peeling, and so someone was like, oh, it's damaged, so I'm charging less, I would probably jump on that copy so I could just glue it back together myself.
Also, all the ones that aren't peeling up, it just means someone already glue sticked it, and you're going to do a better job yourself on your personal copy. So just get the one that's peeling and glue stick it yourself.
Yeah, it's not if, it's when. When we talk to Jason, if you've listened to the After Dark where we talk about PlayStation, you know what I said about these. Get a box protector for these stupid games and put them in there, because these things suffer 2 types of damage. They take surface damage to the shittily glued on cardboard faces and backs and spine, picks up damage so quick. And then it also just unglues. So put it in a box protector, and that way, at least when the pieces peel off, it'll be in that box protector, and you can just be like, oh, I need to glue this back on now.
All right, Johnny, do you have anything else to say about these horror games?
That's it. Do we have a collector's question?
I don't know if you could hear my dog sadly howling in the background because my wife's on vacation.
I could not.
It is 3:40 in the morning. He's just sitting in his crate having the most mournful howls like she's dead. It is so sad.
Did Ada get the new Pokeball Plus?
There's a new Pokeball Plus? Also, this is 2 months old news by the time we're talking about this.
Yeah.
To these people.
Well, Pokemon Go Plus is what it's called.
There is no way they made a Pokemon Go Plus.
I'm not kidding you.
Johnny, we bought the little button one. We bought the real Pokemon one, the Pokeball one that came with we had to buy a whole Switch game to get that one. That was like $100.
Yeah, I bought
what
that
is the
one.
Plus?
Yeah, there's a Plus, and it's $55.
Oh, no, she didn't want this one because this one's more for Pokemon Sleep. There's a new Pokemon Sleep app, and I thought she was going to be like, yeah, fuck yeah, let's go. Is this does this integrate with Pokemon Go? I love Pokemon Go. No, she saw Pokemon Sleep and she's just like, "What? This is bullshit. Why are they doing this?"
It does work like the other one. It does work with like the other Pokeball though, where it'll catch them if you just have it on it.
Yeah, but and she carries around the regular Pokeball. The regular one being the one with Pokemon Let's Go.
My wife,
everyone like listening is like, what, Pokemon Go came out 7 years ago. You guys are still talking about Pokemon Go? Like, what is going on?
Yeah, my wife still plays Pokemon Go, guys. Sorry.
A bunch of CQ people do. I mean, Ada's friends on Pokemon Go, like half of them are from Collector's Quest.
That's kind of hilarious. And she's friends with my wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Johnny Zeno asks, why did Tyler quit social media?
Tyler?
Oh, hey, that's me. Wow. I mean, we could go on like the 40-minute privacy rampage discussion, but no, it's just like death by 1,000 cuts with all the telemetry and privacy stuff that everything's doing between, on an average person's computer, Google Chrome is sending your browsing history to Google, and your phone is sending your location history to Google, and Windows is sending your application usage history to Microsoft, and probably your web browsing history, and who knows what else. And your car is sending your location history to everything is just like surveillance now. I mean, once large language models became a big problem, basically ChatGPT became a big public thing. I'm like, shit, large language models suck. I don't want this to sort all my data. I 100% realize it is impossible to be private at all anymore. There is no such thing as privacy, even if you completely shut off all of your internet access. Like, if you have a credit card, you're fucking screwed. Your bank sells your banking data. If you go to the doctor's office, they keep digital records. But I'm just trying to be, better about privacy where I can. So stop using Windows and, delete meta apps. Stop using Google. The kind of easy stuff to do. That's why, because I became a privacy weirdo. I'm still on Discord though. Discord's an evil big tech company. They're stealing all your data. They're scrounging your posts and feeding them into AI models. But you know what? I love you guys, so I'm still on Discord.
Woo.
Tiger Wolf says preppers are the new collectors. Fuck yeah, I'm prepping for the digital apocalypse. Look at me. Peaceful asks, what is the oldest piece of non-gaming consumer electronics that you use regularly? Regularly being 5 times or more a week.
Didn't we answer that one?
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh, what was the answer? No, there is nothing? Like, I don't think there's literally nothing.
It was like we use new stuff. Like, our phone is our oldest device. It's like 2 years old.
All right, maybe we did.
It's like, or my TV. Like, my TV is the oldest thing. Maybe my Apple TV.
Final Fight CD asks, I've heard many people state 8 and 16-bit games are timeless, both in graphics and gameplay. Do you believe this? Have you met someone born and raised on the PS2 or later getting starry-eyed over 16-bit games, graphics, and gameplay?
So I don't think, that's a big statement.
Yeah.
Obviously, all of them aren't. Some are. Some are great. Could some of them do with some modern conventions? Yeah. So does that make it not timeless? I don't know. Like, Super Mario World is still amazing. Like, what? I don't know what changes I'm offering to Super Mario World or Link to the Past or Super Metroid. So there are versions of these games that are, but just like the in general 16-bit era and 8-bit era, no, they're like save passwords. Are we thrilled with save passwords? Especially when they're like, let's use up and down characters and this one will just be symbols, like no unified systems. The systems that they went into themselves, like original Nintendo's, didn't hold up to like playing games for a long time. Pins got corroded. Like, no, not timeless at all. Are they amazing? And, are they important? Yeah, but not all timeless. Do I know any starry-eyed younger kids? I do know a couple, who are into it, but they also like newer stuff. Like, they're like, yeah, that Mario game was cool, for like 20 minutes. I'm going to go play Fortnite again for 4 more hours.
I think 2D graphics in general are just more timeless than any amount of 3D. Because 2D is not
3D
trying to
is-
imitate reality, and 3D
Yes.
almost always, in some sense, is trying to imitate reality. Or it has more to render to put you into an environment, which the Nintendo 64 cannot do. So I think like Mega Man X is always going to look fucking awesome. It's Mega Man X. That's just what Mega Man looks like. He's this cool little pixel dude. Where in 25 years, The Last of Us 2 and Red Dead Redemption 2 and whatever cool games, my examples are getting outdated, I realize, but those games look amazing and they're going to look like trash in 25 years. We're going to look at them and be like, how do people play this? This is unplayable old garbage. 30 frames a second. What are you talking about? So
Can you believe they use controllers to move this girl around?
yeah,
That's
right?
so dumb.
I didn't even have to log into my X account to play this game. So weird. Topical reference from 2 months ago, guys.
What?
Twitter just changed their name to X.
I just put on my glasses and go. What are these guys doing?
I don't like the idea of games holding up well, and I realize there is some element to games holding up. I generally think if a game is fun, like it doesn't get less fun over time unless there is some fundamental part of it that wasn't fun to begin with. And my example for this is always Assassin's Creed, a game that was very well received
Super
when it
boring.
came out, but Assassin's Creed actually sucks.
So bad.
And it isn't that the open world Assassin game got better. It's just that Assassin's Creed always sucked and people were wrong about it to begin with. And to talk about, let's say maybe a game we've talked about more recently, Wizardry, not the first RPG, but like the bedrock for the RPG genre, is maybe not a great game and wasn't 43 years ago because
Sure wasn't.
it's hard and a lot to manage and very repetitive and punishing. I mean, that's generally how I think of it. And I realize you can look at it from the lens of like, wow, for 1980, this is like the most amazing thing they must have ever had. But yeah, it sucks. When people talk about timelessness and like games evolving, I always feel like they're talking about like making games easier, kind of. Like a lot of like approachability is based on whether you can get something out of a game with as little effort as possible. And I realize not all games, and that's why people love like Souls-like games, is because they play more like traditional video games from like the 80s and 90s. But a lot of people just play games not to be challenged to get dopamine, basically. And if that kind of that concept for gameplay is, people consider that not holding up well. If a game challenges you, if a game isn't fun until you like play for 5 hours and like really beat your head against the first few levels and figure out like all the patterns, people consider that to have not held up well. Whereas I just think of that as a very different kind of fun that is still fun.
I agree.
The Fleo responds to that and says 8-bit no, 16-bit yeah. I kind of disagree. I think that 8-bit art style, because it's simpler, makes it more timeless. Whereas, so here's my absolute proof of this. So if you saw like an HD game in like a true 8-bit style, I still think it would look like just as good, basically, as it did originally. Whereas every single time these indie game companies make these pixel art fake quote-unquote 16-bit style graphics, they're all like these 4K resolution amazing pixel art things that look nothing like what a Super Nintendo would ever have been capable of. So I think the 8-bit style, something like VVVVV, is way more true to what that art style was originally than something like The Messenger or Shovel Knight, which are these games that are so far advanced beyond what like a 90s console would be able to render.
Yeah, but I mean, is that them saying, oh, it's 16-bit, but not really? It's not really 16-bit, and they know that. And they know that their audience just is like, oh, retro's cool. And like, so really, it's more like a 32-bit graphic that they're running.
Man, talking about graphics in terms of bits. But yeah, exactly. I think that, I mean, even more than bits, I think like the resolution matters. It's because with the pixel art, you get into 1080p, you get into 4K, you have so many more pixels to work with, and it's really tempting for those artists to use all those pixels, which the whole point of pixel art, this is not the whole point of pixel art, but the whole point of like a retro aesthetic pixel art is that the limitation makes it more interesting what you do with it. That's why we look at a game like, I don't know, Zelda 1, which has Not even good graphics for the NES because it's such an early NES game, but it's interesting how they built a world with such a limited amount of things.
Well, let's see. I don't exactly agree. I like Zelda looks like a cohesive piece of art when you were playing it. And it doesn't matter what happens to that game. It's unlike where Mario 64, when you blow it up put it on a new TV, looks trashy. I don't even know if it's bits versus like 3D. I think pixel art just holds up better. 8-bit, 16-bit, just it holds up.
Yeah, all you
Not
starry-eyed
all of it, but most of it.
or whatever, you kids born and raised on the PS2, your games all look like trash. So what's up? How come Shadow of the Colossus is like the best game on PS2, an artistic masterpiece, and it runs at like 16 frames a second? Wow, great graphics, really held up, kid.
Well, it's like my problem with PS1. I think the PS1 is one of the 3 best consoles ever, for me. And it's got this amazing library, but it all looks like trash because, not all of it, but so many games are like just bad 3D games. It's always going to just look like polygon soup when you play it.
So, all right. So this isn't really related to it holding up. I find there's something really charming. I don't know if even charming is the right word, but charming about having such a distinctive graphic style and like how they were limited on specific consoles. And specifically, I'm talking PlayStation 1. You think of those warping textures and those really jagged edges. Whereas on N64, by comparison, everything is really soft and bubbly. Like soft edges everywhere and blurriness on the Nintendo 64. And that's just the aesthetic of the entire console. And like the color palettes between the Nintendo and a Sega Master System, like the Sega Master System has these brighter, higher contrast color palettes. You can't always look at a game, but you can usually look at a game and be like, okay, that must be a Sega Master System game, not a Nintendo game, just because of like the colors. And once we move on to like PS2, like literally the PS2, like 2000s and beyond, like all of a sudden nothing matters anymore. They're all just graphics. It's all the same. They're just 3D. Yep. Everything's trying to look the same now.
I agree.
So that's just another aspect I find that makes older games more interesting.
Okay.
That's
it for questions, right?
Yeah. Johnny.
All right. Let's we did it, Tyler. We did it. We did the episode.
What are you buying? What are you playing?
Oh, Tyler, what am I buying? Okay, so I bought a game called Worry. Have you ever heard of Worry?
Yeah, I have it a lot.
No, the game.
Oh, no, I have not.
Okay. So, it's for the Sharp, X6800. Am I, make sure.
Almost. We're an order of magnitude off.
68,000?
Yep.
Yep. So, if you've never seen it, hold on. I wanted to grab it because I want to just tell you how awesome. Oh, you know what? I'm wrong. It's not the Sharp 68,000. It's the Sharp X1.
Ooh. Now we're talking my wheelhouse.
Yeah. Anyways, it's got a sweet looking haunted mansion on the cover. That's it. It's nothing else matters.
Is that like literally the only thing you know about this game too? Because I love that.
No, it's a tape game. It's like what is that called? Kind of like dungeon crawler-esque graphics as you scroll through the house. I watched some gameplay of it, but that's like it as far as what I know. I know it's kind of expensive. It's also on the Amiga. You can find it. And I want to say the MSX as well. But it doesn't come up that often.
All right. I Googled Worry Sharp X1, literally no results.
Oh, sorry. It's Mystery House Worry is the full title.
Mystery House Worry. Is this just the Mystery House by Micro Cabin?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Where's the worry coming from? I thought this is just Mystery House. It's not like an authorized port of Mystery House. This is like a ripoff of Mystery House, but it's also called Mystery House. Oh, okay. I see this. So this is Mystery House Worry.
It's like Worry is part of the title. That's why I'm like, beyond that, I don't know.
Is that like... So
Look how good the box art is, though.
They made like a Mystery House for these old computers. It's just called Mystery House. It's like a ripoff of Mystery House. Is this a sequel to that, or is this that and they renamed it so it wouldn't technically be ripping off the name Mystery House? Either way, Mystery House Worry, kind of a good name for a game. That's kind of cool.
And the box art, super sweet.
It sure is a house.
It's a house with bats.
Oh, Victorian architecture. So creepy. All right. That's cool.
This game looks sweet. And it's a tape. Come on. You love tape games.
Dude, I love tape games. All right.
Mike, what do you want? You're not impressed by this game?
No,
what
I am.
A great Halloween game this is.
If I found like a nice Microcabin Mystery House, Microcabin is the company that ripped off the Sierra Mystery House. Yeah, I would send that over to you, Johnny, because I know you like this stuff.
I do. I love it.
That's good stuff. Yeah, I'm in. Good job. You did it.
Yeah, that's what I bought. It's Halloween time, you know?
What did I buy? Didn't I buy something? Was I going to talk about it? I was on the... Oh, you know what I got?
Yeah.
Johnny, I got Contra for the Nintendo Famicom.
Interesting.
Total impulse buy. There was like a pretty nice... I'm going to call it an 8 out of 10 Contra that came up. Contra is not a cheap Famicom game. Contra on Famicom is much more expensive than on NES for some reason, which is not the case with the vast majority of titles. I don't know if it's just the popularity or if it's the popularity combined with the fact that it is a better version of Contra. There's like additional animation in the Famicom version of the game. I just wanted it because like Contra is such a clear 10 out of 10, one of the best NES games ever made. It seems like something I should own as a Famicom collector. And it came with a little card. I got the card that has so a bunch of Konami games on Famicom and Famicom Disk System come with a little collector card. My little collector card, it shows the level 1 boss, the little wall at the end.
Nice.
It's a nice little boss card.
The wall is so boring.
I know. What I don't want to look at the other cards because I don't know like the cards off the top of my head. I don't want to know that I got a bad one. I'm happy with the level 1 wall. Whatever. You know, it's like an iconic boss. Everyone, even if you suck at Contra, you get to the level 1 boss, so I'm happy with that.
Hopefully the other ones are like the waterfall stage where you're just like on the waterfall or at the beginning where you just get dumped off.
Yeah, like the waterfall stage, what I think is like, oh, here's where I killed my friend Brian when we played Contra, because I didn't have a Nintendo, so I wasn't like used to the fact of like, don't go faster than him because he will die.
Well, how would anyone be used to that? What a weird convention to not tell anyone about. Well, we have to have some mechanic, and this is not like a function of like, oh, this is just smart game making. They're just like, we have nowhere to put the player if they go up here, so they just have to die and come down. Not into it.
But it's like the best game ever made, Johnny. You know what? Just don't play a 2-player. What are you doing playing a single player game 2-player? You're out of your mind.
I will tell you, Tyler, you didn't get the worst card.
Okay, what's the worst card? Can you describe it? Paint a word picture?
Yeah, so it's the lay down section. You know, where you change perspective.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Contra's a perfect game, but those are maybe the worst levels of Contra.
Also, there is a waterfall one, and like weirdly, one of the pose, like player 2, is laying down on the waterfall, and you're just like on a screen below, and the other guy, like, you just know he's dead. You're just like, well, you're dead. Like, this guy is dead. This is a dumb pose.
All right. What's the best card? I'm sure I didn't get the best card if you said I didn't get the worst card.
The best card is the one from, is it level 5? The one with the alien head? And
is it like the final boss?
Is that the final boss card? Not that one. Not like it's just like the one that looks like the small mouth from Alien.
That sounds like the final boss of Contra. Maybe I'm misremembering the final boss of Contra, Johnny.
Am I misremembering the final boss? Am I thinking
I mean, you go into
Super
like
Contra?
this gooey intestine purple area and fight like an alien head.
Yeah, well, this...
It's like the alien head isn't the final
yes,
boss. The alien head is like the little mini thing before the final boss, and the final boss is a heart.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
We did it. we did it. We described like one of the most popular Nintendo games of all time. Unless you're talking about the boss at the top of the waterfall, which is also kind of an alien.
No. That's no, it's not that one. That one's the one with the dumb arms on the left. Yeah. That one looks stupid.
No, don't you badmouth Contra.
I'm not badmouthing. I'm just saying that one isn't my favorite. Okay, man, those cards are so cool. I want so many more of those cards, and I'll never get them. So cool though.
I've seen them come up in like lots of people who have just collected the cards. I think not in our Discord, but Undamned from the game collecting world. He's bought a lot of like dozens of those cards. I'm pretty sure in the past. And it wasn't like it was expensive, but considering this is like a valuable component to each individual complete in box game, like it wasn't crazy. So you can go get those cards if you want.
I still haven't seen Symphony of the Night cards.
Oh yeah, I forgot about those.
Yep. I keep looking.
I don't.
And you can't just type in Konami
PlayStation stuff.
You can't type in Konami cards anymore because of Yu-Gi-Oh. Thanks, Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, I remember. Man, I'm so sorry, Johnny. I sure remember in 1996 when we could search the internet for Konami cards without the influence of Yu-Gi-Oh.
They've just ruined everything, you know.
What else we got, Johnny? You playing anything? Am I going to bed? This is so late.
That's it.
So
we're not playing anything. That's it. We did it. That's the show. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to us bicker and squabble about what is the most iconic, the staple Halloween games for each console. Tell me where we were wrong. Tell me what you pick instead. Like, let me know your list. And I hope your Halloween season is going well. I hope you're looking for your costume and your pumpkin, and everything is right on track for that. All right.
And just to recap, it's NES, Castlevania, PlayStation, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, N64, Castlevania, Genesis, Castlevania Bloodlines, and Super Nintendo, Castlevania 4.
Yeah, so if you were confused about what the best Halloween game is, it's still just Castlevania. Castlevania, this episode is Castlevania, the game. Thanks for listening. All right, that's it. Bye!
And you could find me at Video Game Sage and Discord. I'm Default Jen, Default G.
Look, I know I left it out on purpose. No, they can't find you. This is your fault. You did this to you. You killed the whole end of the show. What am I going to be like? Come find me on Instagram like I'm a whore. Did you hear how Tyler gave a thoughtful... Tyler gave a thoughtful answer about big tech, and I'm over here being a dummy. Thanks.
What? I'm making sacrifices as a result of that, but I'm also gaining benefits. Like I have less distractions. Otherwise, I'd just be in the big box PC game group all the time. Or like the high-end game room, looking at all the stupid bullshit that's always happening in our interesting hobby.
Fair enough. All right. Find Tyler on the Discord. Find Johnny on the Discord. Ew, cut that. I can't.
The episode's over. I don't know what you're even talking about. I'm going to bed.
I thought you were going to keep it. Yeah, cut that. Oof.